only €299. Get better than half price on selected LG soundbars and €100 off Sony wireless Bluetooth noise cancelling headphones. Shop in-store or online at currys.ie. T's and C's apply.
I'm bored. Me too. I said first.
Running out of activities for the kids during the school holidays? A visit to Liffey Valley could solve all your problems. There's everything you need to ensure a fantastic day out. See the latest movie in our 14-screen cinema, or treat them to a meal with more than 20 tempting restaurants to choose from. And no trip to Liffey Valley would be complete without a browse in some of our 80 different stores. Something for everyone this Easter at Liffey Valley. See liffeyvalley.ie.
The Inspired by Centra range adds a little luxury this Easter. It's sourced and perfected by experts for every possible taste, so you can share more and enjoy more. Visit your local store and be inspired. Centra. Live every day.
Life is for living, so embrace that Irish spirit of adventure. At FBD, we're here to protect you. If you have a home policy with us, we'll give you a 10% discount on your car insurance. For a quote, call 017 617 617 or visit fbd.ie. FBD Insurance. Protection. It's in our nature. 10% car discount available with an existing FBD home policy. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited Trading as FBD Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Switch and save at Carphone Warehouse. Save up to €150 on exclusive deals on Samsung you won't find anywhere else. Get the revolutionary Samsung Galaxy S9 for $99.99 or the Samsung Galaxy S8 for just $49.99. Both on a €40 a month plan with Vodafone, Ireland's award-winning mobile network, now with more data than ever, but only when you switch to Vodafone at Carphone Warehouse, the home of the networks. Any network, any phone, any plan. Only Carphone Warehouse. T's and C's apply. Offer subject to 24-month contract.
FBD Hotels and Resorts present our newest addition, the Heritage Hotel and Spa in Killinard. The perfect location for your next conference or event. Situated between Kildare Village, the Curragh and Portlaoise, it's easily accessible from just about everywhere. Less than an hour from Dublin, just off the M7 motorway at Junction 15. Make an inquiry today and learn about our exciting refurbishment. The Heritage Hotel and Spa, a venue reborn. Discover more at theheritage.com.
Saracens versus Munster, live from the Ricoh Arena.
On Off the Ball.
All right, it's almost time. We're live here on News Talk and offtheball.com as well. Full exclusive commentary of Saracens against Munster. It is the semi-finals of the Heineken Champions Cup. Let's get across to the Ricoh Arena to Matthew Tait, Johnny Murphy and first Conor Morris.
Nathan, thank you very much indeed, and happy Easter everyone. Welcome along to the Ricoh Arena in Coventry, which is bathed in spring sunshine. The temperature is very much in the high teens and elevated by the blasts of the pyrotechnics just a few yards in front of the commentary position here in Coventry as we get set to welcome the two teams out onto the pitch. Munster, of course, this afternoon revisiting the scene of their last Heineken European Cup semi-final triumph back here in 2008 when they faced the same opposition as fate would have it, Saracens, the back-to-back winners of this competition in 2016-2017. 6 times in the 11 years since that day, Munster have tried and so far failed to negotiate the penultimate hurdle and reach a final. Can they today resurrect the days of old on Easter weekend? They are, of course, no strangers to pulling off the improbable and sometimes even the impossible, but against the might of Mark McCall's Saracens today, they might need one of those famous, mythical miracle matches on Easter weekend in the sunshine in Coventry. You can, I'm sure, on our microphones pick up the noise level around this 30,000 or so capacity stadium, which is around about half full, and I would guesstimate that roughly 3 or 4/5 of the noise you're hearing at this moment in time as we welcome the teams onto the perfect pitch is being made by the travelling Munster faithful. We see it time and again. They go to the ends of Europe to cheer on their team, and truth be told, they have had, by their very high standards, very little to cheer about over the course of the last decade. 2 semi-finals in cup competitions last season. That is not good enough for this franchise. Johan van Graan knows it, Peter O'Mahony knows it, and the rest of the Munster team today, against the odds, will try and turn the tables on Saracens. Can history repeat itself in this blazing sunshine at the Ricoh Arena? Well, the Munster faithful will do their best, as you can hear. Well, let's have a quick word from the two chaps sat alongside me, who were just waxing lyrical a few moments ago about as retired players. I mean, these are the days you live for. Let's hear from Johne Murphy and Matthew Tait. Johnny.
Yeah, this is it just, I'm not sure, the noise levels are just, they're kind of different level. It's today, I was saying to Tait, today is the day that you really do miss. These European semi-final days are proper special, and yeah, look, the reaction of the crowd and the look on the lads' faces, it looks like it could be one of those special days, but let's hope we'll have a cracker.
Yeah, fingers crossed. These are the days that stick in your memory, rather than those wet Friday nights away with 5 people watching you.
The French referee in charge this afternoon, Jérôme Garcès, and the ball is in the hands of a man whose shoulders will carry a huge burden of responsibility for Munster this afternoon, Tyler Blendell, and he gets Munster underway, and they will kick from left to right as we look down from the commentary position at the Ricoh Arena in their usual strip, of course, red jerseys. One late change in case you weren't with us for the build-up, and Sean Maitland is made way on the wing. David Strettle comes in for Saracens, hamstring injury forcing Sean Maitland to withdraw. Alex Lewington is onto the bench, and already with so much at stake, there's a little one or two signs of nerves out there. The ball has been knocked forward a couple of times in the air, and within the opening 30 seconds for not releasing on the floor, the French referee has given Saracens the first penalty of the afternoon.
Classic Saracens out of their own half, just so pragmatic, take their time, put it on the box, kick pressure from David Strettle, who's come in, is great in the air. Penalty early doors.
Yeah, like, you know, in the first, 60 seconds, 90 seconds on, Mike Haley's been tested twice, doesn't go up and claim the ball, and that's something that they're really, would have really hung their hat on, that they're going to win that aerial battle. You can see Andrew Conway and the lads talking that their escorts back, trying to give the Mike Haley that opportunity to contest cleanly. But yeah, that is classic Saracens. They didn't look to push the ball off turnover, just stuck it straight back up in the air. And to be fair, Spencer's boot was bang on the money both times.
I think interested on both those kicks that David Strettle's made no attempt to actually catch it himself. He's just going up to slap that back and rely on those guys around him to pick up the scraps.
So the ball is on the kicking tee, and Owen Farrell addresses it in his unique and customary manner. The man who accounted for 16 points of Saracens' total in 2017 when these two sides met at the Aviva Stadium in Dublin. It would be the perfect start for Saracens. Can he measure his kick? Yes, he can. And that is first blood inside the opening couple of minutes for Saracens. The assured boot of Owen Farrell. He has been the top point scorer in each of the last 3 seasons in this competition, and he registers 83+%, and he was bang on the money on that occasion. 2 minutes and 20 seconds on the watch. Saracens in front. Discipline will be key for both sides, and Munster can ill afford to fall on the wrong side of the referee's whistle, particularly in that kind of range, with Farrell at the helm at number 10. Back into the side, of course, this afternoon for this crucial game. He's missed the last couple of games in the Gallagher Premiership. His family situation has changed dramatically since last we saw him play. Mike Haley under the high ball this time, just inside the Saracens half of the pitch, took it much more cleanly. They funneled it through the hands, Munster, to Kilcoyne, and then back against the green comes Conor Murray. Munster just inside the Saracens half of the pitch, and they'll just look to get some continuity going, go through the phases here, settle their way into the contest. They go a little bit deeper now to Haley, and he offloads to Scannell. Scannell tries to break the tackle of Farrell. Farrell stuck to his task, and Scannell brought to ground inside the tram tracks over on this near side, 10 metres or so inside the Saracens half of the field. Blendell waits, and he receives it from his half-back partner Conor Murray, and Munster go through the hands, and they pick out their big targets. Chris Farrell, who will be key today in that outside centre role, and Saracens have turned the ball over in the contact area, 5 or 6 metres inside their own half, and they pinned Munster back with a lovely little grubber kick right onto the edge of the Munster 22. That's really good stuff.
I think just from a Munster point of view, they'll be really disappointed. There's a couple of occasions there. Sarries are renowned for that line speed in defence, but they're certainly pushing the envelope in terms of the offside line.
Yeah, you would. You'd be questionable based on whether they were on the back foot. Munster were actually looking to play there, and that's probably, Saracens are very happy just to soak up that pressure and get that turnover. Jackson Ray in over the ball and get to a turnover. But again, they're not looking to play. That they just off turnover ball. They don't look to play at all. They just Spencer just box kicks it into the corner again.
The whole Sarries game is built around their power. So particularly on a day like today, we've got the tropical heights of 19 degrees in Coventry. They'll turn this Munster side, conserve energy. As soon as they get down into the Munster 22, the Munster 10, they'll look to punish them.
And while we were having a little bit of attention to Niall Scannell, the Munster players were taking on fluids. We've only played 3 minutes and 50 seconds. The Munster line-out, the first of the afternoon, has been taken cleanly. And the ball is there for Conor Murray, and he gets it away to CJ Stander, who has seen so much ball in this competition. 101 carries now, and he's played every single minute of every game. The ball is with Conor Murray, and he's going to box kick from inside the Munster 22. It's hanging and it's dropping just inside the Munster half, and it's been spilled forward on that occasion by Liam Williams, who's been tremendous in this competition so far this season. But it's Saracens' ball as up goes the cry of the Munster fans around the stadium. Saracens dominating the early exchanges here, and they go to the boot of Farrell again. He's got plenty of height and hang time on that kick, and it was brilliantly judged from the Saracens' point of view. And now they look to recycle, and they get things moving at a ferocious pace up towards the Munster 22 again, and Munster very much on the back foot. Queuing up here on both sides. Jamie George now fancies a go at the heart of that Munster defence and carries it right up to the threshold of the Munster 22. Rearguard action in full flow here from Munster as they look to live with the Saracens' power and pressure inside the opening 5 minutes, which have just elapsed with Munster on the back foot. And now they come through with Lewowski. Strong and straight carry from the outside centre. It's there once again all the way back to Farrell. Potential for a drop goal here, and he hasn't quite given that enough. Plays well within his compass.
You just watched that there, and Saracens are actually giving Munster a kind of a telling in how to run their aerial game, and it's all down to escorts. Ben Spencer got a fantastic escort on Andrew Conway, which let Liam Williams go up for the ball, win easy, and then they do a crossfield. Munster have no escorts, and then there's another contest in the air by Dave Strettle.
I mean, I know in Farrell's, he's kicking a contestable kick there from the attacking 10-metre line, so they're playing two phases. There's nothing on, kick it, we're going to back our kick chase and our pressure.
A restart was taken in well by Liam Williams, hugging this touchline on the near side. First penalty of the afternoon coming the way of Munster. We're inside the Munster half of the field, and Andrew Conway goes into the scrum half position. Tadhg feeds Conor Murray, spots a little bit of a gap, and very quickly that gap was effectively closed by Maro Itoje. Just for a fraction of a second it appeared that Munster might have had numbers to the left hand side. That's where Murray was heading with the aid of the advantage, and back will go for the Munster penalty.
Yeah, I think Munster have looked up and they've seen three of there's Billy Van der Poel, TT Lomasatili stood together in those wider channels, so they're looking to try and push the envelope a little bit on advantage. No possession wasted, come back, kick the ball up the field.
Yeah, I think they're just Conor just needs to get the ball out of his hands a bit earlier, instead of kind of running into what I would call Mug Scully. They kind of shoot out of the line and giving them right, take that inside line, and that's where they're actually comfortable defending.
Well, Munster's penalty was over on this right hand side of the pitch, just 6 or 7 metres in and 6 or 7 metres inside their own half, so they dispatched it to Scannell off that long left boot, and he's taken play to about 10 metres outside the Saracens 22. We haven't seen Munster as yet from set piece situation in an attacking sense. Scannell will deliver.
They're definitely looking at setting a play up here. Andrew Conway's at the front of the line out, Chris Farrell's at 9.
All the way over the 15 they go to Scannell. The Saracens defence initially seemed to read it reasonably well, because Scannell, although he did get a good set of hands on it, didn't make too much yardage. That's much better from Farrell now. Munster up to the Saracens 22, and inside it only just. The referee are appealing for a penalty, nothing doing. It's funneled inside to Tadhg. Takes a huge crash ball, and he's double teamed by the Saracens rear guard. There's huge ferocity around the contact area here from both sides as they look to try and find the measure of each other here. Farrell now trying to weave out of a tackle that time from Mako Vunipola. Just managed to get the ground outside the 22 before he was snared once again in a choke tackle. Munster infield heading towards the Saracens post now. Conor Murray, Blendal just delayed his pass a little bit. The Saracens line speed again typically very, very good. No real corridor for Munster to work in, but they have a penalty. Straight in front of the post, 25 yards out. And that's the reward for good effort.
Good patience there. They've obviously looked to... They feel that Saracens are a small bit weak coming back on the blind side, kind of snapping back down to the blind side, because they've hit that close stroke a couple of times and then looked to come back down blind. That was obviously a set phase off the first two phases where they came straight back to Chris Farrell and looked to get to Andrew Conway on the edge.
Yeah. I think having played against Saracens, what you don't want to be doing is trying to attack from alongside, because it gives them the chance to come off with that real intent with their line speed. If you can try and split them and find those mismatches on the short sides with some of the props, some of those tight five forwards, that's where you're looking for your opportunities.
It gives them no opportunity to kind of build into their defensive system, then that it's repeated up and back, kind of that shuttle running, which is quite league orientated, but it just means that, you know, they're very much stopping their line speed game.
So can Tyler Blendall cancel out Owen Farrell's early penalty here? 9 minutes and 20 seconds on the watch. Blendall strikes right-footed. He struck right through it with plenty of conviction. Up go the Munster flags around the Ricoh Arena, and it is a level game, 3 points apiece. 9.5 minutes have flown by here. Really good strike from the New Zealander, full of conviction. A man who, of course, has played so little time in that number 10 shirt. He's been beset by injuries in 2 of the 3 seasons that he has been with Munster, and it's a great opportunity for him to show what he can do on the big occasion in the absence of Joey Carberry. No Keith Earls, of course, remember, for Munster this afternoon, so a little bit of their cutting edge has been blunted this afternoon. They will need to take every single opportunity that comes their way against the Saracens side. They're back inside their own 22, and Conor Murray kicks one down the tram lines over on that far side. He got plenty of height on it. It wasn't contested by Darren Sweetman, and it's brought back into the Munster half of the pitch, and Munster looking to quell the threat of the likes of Billy Vunipola, who's taken another big carry there, and it's spun in field from Owen Farrell. And Brad Barrett, the Saracens captain, was put to the ground very quickly with another thumping tackle, and Saracens decide just to play a little bit of territory and nudge Munster back towards their own 22.
If we just look at that Munster exit there, the difference between the Saracens exit and the Munster exit, whether that's a tactical thing, I don't know, but Sarri's exit got Dave Strell putting pressure on there. Conor Murray's kick long might be tactical, but actually what it does is give Alex Good an opportunity to run, eat up that yardage, get Sarri's down into the Munster half, and throw in Farrell to drill the ball into just outside the Munster 22.
He's so dangerous, Alex Good. 28 defenders beaten this season, 63 carries and over 300 metres now. Munster ball just outside their own 22. Conor Murray waits, and he lines up his pack of forwards, and CJ Stander is absolutely smashed on the tackle right on that Munster 22. They're going to have to work for every single yard this afternoon in energy-sapping sunshine in Coventry. Murray waits again. This time the box kick is long, and Williams is under it once again, and he keeps it in field. Vunipola, Billy that is, and he runs hard and straight at Jack O'Donoghue. In on the open side flank for Chris Clute. That was a debatable selection this week, one of few that Johan van Graan had to make, otherwise it's as you would expect right through this Munster lineup. Farrell has it, and Saracens with opportunity potentially out this way, and it's gone forward, has it? No, referee says it's gone backwards. The Munster fans, you'll hear the boos ringing out. It went eventually to Mike Rhodes, and back it goes now from Spencer to Billy Vunipola again. Marco Vunipola's over it.
That was a very tight call, given the amount of line speed and the amount of pressure that Munster brought there. They deserve better than that. That's a tough call.
It's another really good kick from Spencer. Huge amount of hang time on that, and Healy had to try and get through a raft of bodies. In so doing, he's knocked it on, so it's a knock-on advantage for Saracens, being played by the French referee, and space on the outside now potentially for Saracens here. Munster funneling back in numbers just in time, just inside their own 22, just to cut off that threat. And there were 2 or 3. Now it's gone through the hands from Itoje to Vunipola again. This is ominous for Munster. Farrell, crossfield kick, huge height on it. Williams is coming in, Conway underneath it, absolutely superb under the high ball from Andrew Conway. That was a try-saving take from the Munster winger under real pressure.
That's an incredible take. That was a fair contest in the air from Liam Williams against Andrew Conway. That was an unbelievable take given the context of where they'd come from. They were put under a huge amount of pressure, went down the right hand side, and straight off they looked to come back and target. Saracens seemed to be kind of targeting the aerial battle, and they've won it to extent. Bar that take from Andrew Conway there, they seem to be really winning that battle.
I think when Owen Farrell was passing the information to kick that, Tylan Bledendahl found himself on the edge. Andrew Conway hadn't actually had time to work himself across, and as you said, it's an unbelievable to take that ball above your head under that pressure, 2 metres off your try line is unbelievable.
13 minutes in, 3 points apiece on the scoreboard. Munster's 14th European semi-final. That is, as you might expect, a tournament record. The fact is they've lost the last 6. For the 5th time this decade, 2 Irish teams in the semi-finals. We've only once had an all-Irish decider. That was at Twickenham in 2012. Ulster against Leinster. Leinster, of course, in action against Toulouse tomorrow.
There's a really nice intensity to this game, isn't there? It's like it's proper European Cup rugby. There's lads flying in all over the place, and it's a proper contest.
And it's going to be a Saracens line-out midway between the Munster 22 and the 10-metre line, and the ball is in the hands of Jamie George. He's been so accurate from touch this season, and he picks out Itoje. Really good communication and delivery from George. And now Spencer will try something here. Back in behind they go from Farrell, and they've nudged that through into Munster territory, and there's some covering to do for Scannell, and he did it really well under pressure again, this time from David Strettle. So Munster survive another foray into that 22 from Saracens, but back come Saracens again in the shape of Owen Farrell, almost up to the 22 again, and they work it into the hands of Mike Rhodes, the 31-year-old South African, into midfield straight in front of the posts, and there's a big hole in the Munster defence. Then they're inside the 22, but there's bodies around the ball, and it could be, well, there's a Munster player with his hands on it, and I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't Peter O'Mahony. CJ Stander gets up with the ball. Yes, it's CJ Stander with a turnover, crucial turnover, just when Munster looked as though they might be breached again.
You can just see there the emphasis that Saracens put on their set plays. There's a bit of a stat here for you. Saracens have scored 30 tries in the Champions Cup this season. According to Opta, 22 of them have come within the first 3 phases of a set piece. You see the attention to detail there from the line out. Brad Barrett nice and simple up, those forwards round the corner into Alex Good's hands with that delicate little kick through on that right hand side, and there's some great coverage in the backfield.
Yeah, it's and I think the luxury of having Alex Good not only in the backfield returning those kicks, also off that kick when Scannell puts it down, Farrell goes back, carries the ball, and then the next phase you see Alex Good step up at first receiver, which creates that line break. So it's being able to do both, not just run the ball back but also step up as first receiver and multi-phase. 15
minutes in, Munster line out over on that far side has been well taken. Back it goes to Conor Murray, and he hoists the box kick, which is juggled a little bit, but it's back on the Munster side. I thought it was knocked on, but Saracens in fact have it, and Farrell gets it out into midfield, and the other Farrell, Chris Farrell in Munster red, with a thumping challenge. The tenacity and the appetite for the contact is not lacking in this game, as you would expect, and it'll be that way from first whistle to last if both sets of players can keep this intensity and pace going in these conditions, which will be a factor the longer the game goes on. Boot to ball again, a Saracens boot, testing out Mike Haley. Now, was he taken in the air by Owen Farrell? That was very close. There's a Saracens penalty coming here. Now, this is a big moment of contention. I just wonder, will the referee check upstairs potentially with the TMO, because the Munster supporters around us, and I have to say in real time, I'm not sure Mike Haley was back down to have his feet on the ground when he was hit by the fly half then.
Very marginal there. I'm sure if it was a check, you'd be able to slow it down and check whether he actually is. Oh, I don't think he's on the ground there, but that's a TMO needs to step up there and take into that. But again, it's very marginal. But again, it's the escorts line from I kept this is the 3rd or 4th time now. The escort lines just aren't good enough from a Munster perspective, that are giving Owen Farrell that opportunity to accelerate into the tackle and get a one-on-one with Mike Haley.
And those are the minor details that you don't necessarily think make a huge difference. When you get to this stage, it's those tiny 1%ers, whether your escorts are right, that actually make the big difference. I think coming back, actually, you've got to praise the Munster defence. It's been fantastic in terms of that line speed, and that's the second time Chris Farrell has got Munster out of a bit of a hole when Sarries have had an overlap. He's read ball in air and got man and ball to get them out of a bit of trouble.
Very important read, because if he doesn't stop that, then the ball goes out and you're all at sea on the edge. But his defensive read is top quality.
Well, this one for Farrell is a little bit trickier than his first one, which he struck absolutely perfectly. He's the better part of 30 metres out from the Munster post as he sizes it up and strikes it right-footed. That looks pretty good from here, and it is absolutely spot on once again from Owen Farrell. He absolutely thrives in this kind of pressure cooker environment, and he struck that perfectly from the kicking tee. Mark McCall's face is on the big screen away to our right-hand side, and he looks pretty happy for now, but it's anyone's game. Saracens have dominated, but we played 18 minutes and their lead is only 3.63. Blendal restarts down towards that Saracens 22, and it's back on the Munster side. Outstretched arm of Jerome Garces is indicating a Munster advantage, and the ball is in the hands of Dave Kilcoyne, and he's absolutely smashed in the tackle by two Saracens players. Munster camped right in front of the Saracens post. Now they go out the back door to Blendal. Farrell, and he didn't really have an option to his left other than sweeten him, but the numbers were good from Saracens, so ball in hand. Farrell kept it. Now they go back inside to the tight head prop John Ryan, heading back towards where it came to O'Donoghue, and out comes Rhodes with a big tackle. Now the two back rows are giving it absolutely everything. Blendal on a little switch pass back inside. Good tackle that time from Lazowski, and Munster almost half through into the 22, and the referee spotted something over there, and he's indicated a Saracens penalty. I think it's for a tackle off the ball, is it?
No, I think he's saying that the clean went past the ruck and took in a defender. So if you go past the ruck, then it's tight.
It is tight, yeah.
So yeah, no, that's two tight calls that Munster have been on the receiving end now. But Saracens are just, again, they're relentless line speed. It's just repeated effort.
And they're just so, anything 5 to 10 metres around from a breakdown, they're just so comfortable, so well drilled in what they do. In order to try and get any kind of across the gain line, you have to try and chance your arm, but they're so comfortable in those wide channels reading ball in there that it's fool's gold to some extent.
And that's a major issue, because you're trying to generate quick ball and you can't, and then you create, that's where you force it too much and you end up going into those wider spaces.
And the line-out was taken successfully by George Cruz. No real purchase on the maul from a Saracens point of view, so they've kicked it again, and they move it quickly this way from Jackson Ray. And they're just picking up all the loose ball, all the little 50-50s, the knock-ons in the air. They're all coming back on the Saracens side now, and when they carry into Munster territory, they're doing so with real purpose and power, and doing so again now with Itoje, and the support comes in from Makavunapola. Here's Spencer to Farrell. Relentless pace, and this time it's Lamasatelli. Oh, that's a lovely line, potentially through the middle from Lazowski, back into the Munster 22. Farrell to his right hand side, kicks it through. Sweetenham under real pressure from Strettle, and Strettle's up quickly to make the tackle, but Sweetenham did well. Absolutely had to gather that again, and Munster are hanging on here every time Saracens get within this Munster 22 into the red zone. They look so dangerous, and they're varying up the attack at every opportunity. Murray just hacks one clear. He looked for touch on this occasion, he finds it. Potential for a quick line out, and it's not taken, but it's still Saracens camped inside that Munster half.
And you can see once Sarries are on the front foot, there's a real distinct change in the pace and everything they do. And you've got the likes of your Billy Vunipola and your Mako Vunipola playing on front foot with momentum. It's very, very difficult to stop. I think you've actually got to give Munster a lot of credit in how they're dealing with it. It's not easy.
Yeah, they're soaking up a lot of pressure, and we spoke about scrum time and the fact that Munster might have an edge there. Hasn't been one scrum yet, and Tito Lamastelli, he's carried 3 or 4 times and he's always got gain line.
Well, speaking of gain line, it's Mako Vunipola going through again, shrugging off the challenges, making ground, getting beyond the gain line. Oh, loose pass here, Conway's away, the whistle goes. He hacks it downfield. He's called back by the referee's whistle. Munster thought for if only a fleeting second they might have been in for a 7-pointer. Jerome Garces says, no, back you come.
Right on cue.
Right on cue, first scrub.
I think it's interesting. Sarries have obviously done their homework on Munster's defence. As soon as we get down into the 22 or 10 metres in, the Munster wingers are really high. Mike Haley's got a lot of work in the backfield to do, and he's actually doing it reasonably well at the moment. But I think that's why we're seeing Alex Good. We're seeing those probing kicks from Owen Farrell in behind, which Munster are actually doing really well at the moment. But they've obviously identified that as a weekness within the Munster defensive system. And
there's no worse place as a 15 to be actually isolated in there. Just inside your 22, around the 5-metre line, where everyone's coming towards you, and you're on your own. It's a very, very isolating position to be in.
Tremendous atmosphere, perfect conditions on the game so far. We've played 22 minutes and 12 seconds, 6-3 Saracens lead. It's living up to the billing. It is tense, it is tight, it is violently aggressive at times in and around the tackle and contact area, as we thought it would be. And we hear so much, of course, about the lauded defence of Saracens and the good work of Alex Sanderson. We sometimes do forget, of course, they come into this having scored an average of over 34 points a game and almost 5 tries a match. They got 7 in the quarter-final against Glasgow. And Glasgow, a team who've caused Munster all kinds of problems domestically in the Pro 14 this season. So that gives you a measure of the task facing this Munster side today. A side, of course, without Joey Carberry and Keith Earls. And very interesting to see this latest flashpoint, because as I said, or as Johnny was saying, 22 minutes in, we've got our first scrum. And there's a fair bit of chat going on in there.
We're set up with a split here, midfield, more or less a midfield scrum, tough place to defend. Alex Good set up on the right, Brad Bard is actually set up at first receiver on the left hand side. So again, as Tait was saying, it's a tough one for Mike Haley to discover in behind, to try and cover that kick space.
Rock solid scrum, and Spencer takes it from Vunipola. Oh, it's a really good tackle from Haley, quickly out of the line, and he absolutely thumped into the tackle of Liam Williams there, but it's still Saracens' ball. CJ Stander is over it. He's lost his feet. It's not going to come back on the Munster side. Spencer waits. He can see it, and he can play it, and he can line up all those big gargantuan targets again, and he hits Lamasatelli. Spencer once more, and they're double teaming and getting the little wedges going, latching on in the tackle, supporting the ball carrier, changing the point of the attack. They're midway inside that Munster 22. They're looking very threatening. This could be the first try of the afternoon, and they just run out of pitch over on that far side. But the orchestration and the creativity around the Saracens attack is causing Munster all kinds of problem. The question is, how long can they hold out?
It's two massive involvements there from Mike Haley on both sides, taking last man. He's in a real difficult position here from a midfield scrum, sitting on the half and going ball in there to try and make that tackle. And against Liam Williams, who's one of the best in the business.
Yeah, really, really good tackle. And then he gets up off, they go back the far side, and he manages to work in behind and get in a position to try and stop Saracens over the far side.
5 metre line out, and Jamie George goes to the front short. They get that maul going, and they try and drive towards the Munster line. Ball is on the floor, picked up from the base. And now they put some width on it with Farrell. Goes all the way wide to the left hand side. Alex Good is driven back in the challenge. Resolute and defiant Munster defence. Chris Farrell on this occasion, but they recycle quickly. There is absolutely no let up here from a Munster point of view. Attack from every angle. Strettle carries Mako Vunipola in there. Itoje as well. Referee was indicating a penalty as it popped out the back door by Owen Farrell, who knows he's playing with the advantage, can afford to be a little bit cavalier. Nothing doing. Back we go for the penalty.
And that's great work from Chris Farrell and Andrew Conway. Sarries have had to throw long. They've read the ball in air, and they've stopped almost being a certain try with an overlap on this left hand side.
They're really pushing Munster to the limit here, but they're standing up, especially the back three. Darren Sweetman's had a really good tackle on the edge. Mike Haley, Andrew Conway, from 13-8, they're defending incredibly well. But if they can manage to hold on without Sarri scoring, possibly before half time, that'll be a result, because they've they're after soaking up a huge amount of pressure.
I think they'll actually see this as a win. Even to concede 3 points here is a win for Munster. Massive. To soak up that amount of pressure in the last 5 to 10 minutes.
And given the dominance, still the correct decision to take a shot at goal. Owen Farrell, of course, metronomic from this kind of position, build a scoreboard as a European semi-final.
Yeah, I would always take the 3 when they're on offer. You don't know how the game's going to pan out moving into it. Take the points while they're on offer and build a score.
So Farrell is poised and ready. Once again, the Munster players and the Saracens boys taking on some fluids. And Farrell is poised and ready. 6 points to 3, 25 minutes and 50 seconds on the watch. It's inside the Munster 22. And for a man of his kicking capabilities, with over 750 points in this competition, this should be another 3 on the ledger. And again he strikes with plenty of conviction, and the lead is extended by Owen Farrell. I wonder what Johan van Graan is thinking about his side's efforts, because while they trail by 9 points to 3, they've had very, very little possession or territory, and they've had to live on their wits in defence, and they've done that remarkably well so far. They're hanging in there, if only just.
It's big now from this restart how Munster deal with that box kick again.
Taken high above his head by George Cruz, the 32 times capped England's second row. Won Lions Test in 2017. And here comes that exit strategy from Saracens as Spencer waits. And Healy was ready. He was already on the move before the ball connected with his boot. And on this occasion, despite a real contest from Williams, Healy's won that.
Yeah, there's just a calmness about when Saracens are in that position. They just seem to completely relax and just set up their chasers really well. Mike Haley, that was much better, committed to it, got in the air and won that contest in the air.
I think the thing with Saracens, everyone knows their role, and this is one, regardless of the front line players that they've got playing now, or they have injuries, those second line players that come in, everybody knows in the situation from exit, you know what your role is, you know what's expected, that's what you're going to be judged on, and that's why they've been successful over the last few years.
Yeah, I think we were talking beforehand about Richard Wigglesworth, and we thought that maybe Ben Spencer starting might be kind of a weak point, but his box kicks have been bang on the mark. He's been excellent this half so far.
Yes, he came off the bench in that game against Scotland in the Six Nations, didn't he? And prior to that, only a couple of England appearances. 26 now, Ben Spencer. He's been found his way to the try line in this competition so far this season, with 3 before today. The referee's just going to ask the 2 front rows to reset again before this scrummage. Munster, remember, coming through their quarter-final, 17 points to 13 against Edinburgh, courtesy in the main to those 2 tries from Keith Earls. Saracens, as I said, racked up 7 tries and 56 points with a concession of 27 against Glasgow at Allianz Park. 6th time in the last 7 seasons they've reached this stage of the competitions, and they've made finals in 3 of the last 4. That's a measure of their recent pedigree. You just never know with Munster, though, at this stage of this competition. It's been Johan van Graan's job, or certainly a big part of his brief, to kick them on beyond where they've been in the last couple of years. 2 semi-finals, as I mentioned, last season, and just came up fractionally short in both of them against Leinster and Racing. Now Conor Murray is ready to feed that Munster scrummage just 3 or 4 metres into the Saracens' half of the field, and he picks it out from in between the feet of CJ Stander, and Scannell feeds Farrell, and now Healy hits the line and he tries to get on the outside of the Saracens midfield defence. The ball is back with Murray again, Blendal, and he goes flat to the line. That was ambitious. Munster regather it. Not clean possession though. They go back against the green. That's what
numbers here
Johnny and Matthew have been talking about. They're trying to split that defence either side, go from the middle to the left, then the right, and back from where they came. Murray again now. Can they get a little bit of momentum behind this? Sean Klein carries into the Saracens 22, and we haven't seen too much of Munster in that area of the field. Now can they find their way through, try and breach this defence, which has looked pretty rock solid so far? Munster fans are way over on that far side, are on their feet. They're spotting something at ruck time. The referee Jerome Gar says is quite happy to let play continue until just now, when he spots a hand in there. It's a Sarries hand, it's a Munster penalty.
You can see that Jerome Garr says he's happy for a competition around the breakdown, and with the penalties we've had, it's benefiting both sides. But Maro Itoje's clearly off his feet there. It's a daft penalty to concede. Allows Munster hopefully to take 3 points, bring themselves back into the game.
A really positive piece of play there in terms of their setup. You know, they went after the connection between the connection out wide between Lazowski and David Strettle. They got really good go forward, smack back in the middle, and then came back down blind. It was really, good positive play and a will to attack, which creates this opportunity for 3 points.
It was really interesting there that the pass from Conor Murray to Rory Scannell was wide enough that actually Ben Spencer defensively can't influence. Sarries are then happy to concede a few yards at the edge, knowing full well they're going to make the tackle, and they've got a full line to be able to put pressure on Munster coming back.
But that positive carry when they come back off that midfield ruck by Dave Durcoyne gives them means that Saracens can't build their line speed, and they're not coming off an edge because they attacked them a small bit wider.
So many individual duels and battles out there so far in the opening exchanges of this, but it's coming down to a duel of the two kickers, the two tens, and Tyler Blendall has absolutely nailed that one again. Huge pressure on him today, and so far he's been right up to it.
Interestingly there, we're just as that kick goes over, we're seeing Brad Barrett against some fairly heavy strapping on that left ankle of his. So we thought coming into the game, we didn't know how fit he was going to be. He's obviously taken a knock on that. It'll be interesting to see how he carries on throughout the rest of the game. Yeah,
because he would be a big loss, for them to go. Just as we spoke about before, he gives that calming edge to the whole team.
Yes, he hobbled off the Glasgow game. We haven't seen him since, and it didn't look good for him, but he's recovered to take a starting role this afternoon, and he is a crucial cog, captain and talisman in there. Well, that's a huge psychological lift for Munster to go down into Saracens territory and come away with points, because they haven't had too many visits to the 22, and it's a 3-point game. We've played 31 minutes, and such has been the dominance in terms of territory and possession from Saracens. Eventually Johan van Graan must be reasonably happy with that. His side have hung on once or twice, but they're warming to the test, and it is that tense, tight, very, very physical battle that we anticipated it would be. And the longer it stays like this from a Munster point of view, they will be very, very happy. Owen Farrell attacks that Munster defensive line, as we see him do time and again with ball in hand. Saracens are driven back. Munster's defence now very, very strong. They're just stood right across their own 10-metre line, and they're making Saracens work, and they do so on this occasion through Jamie George. Farrell now. Blendall this time is up quickly, but he doesn't quite make his tackle. Munster can't afford to miss too many. They'll have to make a huge amount of tackles this afternoon, and they'll need to be in the high 80% if they're going to withstand this Saracens side, a side who, as we said, register usually 30-35 points per game in this competition, and now they put a little bit of oxygen on the ball and they go wide to the right hand side to David Strettle. A late introduction into that right wing berth for Sean Maitland, who pulled his hamstring in the warm-up. Farrell now as they come back into the middle of the pitch, and this time there is an error, and we've seen precious few from Saracens with ball in hand. Yes, they've made one or two defensively around penalties, and it's almost like a sigh of relief from the Munster supporters.
Really good defensive set there from Munster in terms of just repeated efforts up off the line. They went to the edge, went over the top of Darren Sweetman, but he works back. It's a really good positive tackle on David Strettle. That was a really, really good defensive set.
It was. I think the only concern for Munster longer term as the game goes on, the weather the way it is actually you're having to defend so much now. You look at the Saracens bench and those bodies that are to come on around the 60-minute mark, they're going to grind you down. The Munster needs some possession of their own. They need to put some pressure on Saracens of their own.
And they need to sow the seed of doubt in the minds of these Saracens players. It will take quite something, given what this Saracens team have achieved over recent years. You dare say that their confidence is not that brittle, shall we say. So it's a Munster scrummage from the knock-on, right in front of their own posts and 30 metres out. And they've got a free kick.
You just wonder whether do you just stick it in the air, or would you go as long as you possibly can and just get a good kick, Jason?
Yeah, I'd probably just go as long as you can, based on you probably know what Saracens are going to do, which is just kick the ball back to you. But you need to try and get the ball in between the 22 and 10. But it looks like he's gonna put it up.
And Conway gesticulating and pointing. Blendell goes long towards Liam Williams, and Good has it. He returns it low down the centre of the field, and it'll be collected by Tyler Blendell. Mike Healy now has it. He has a little bit of a time to assess his options, and he sent it skyward, and Liam Williams took his eye off it and he's knocked it forward. The Munster fans felt that Healy was impeded, and in some ways it was their cries that just got into the mind of Liam Williams and distracted him.
It's a really uncharacteristic error by Liam Williams there. No one near him. Kind of an aimless kick by Haley that pays off. And then again, Maratoje offside. Another simple thing that it was kind of, two very uncharacteristics from two senior players there.
I think there's a little bit of gamesmanship from Maratoje there, just on that free ball, just slowing it down a fraction, so Munster can't take advantage of some of those front five forwards in those wider channels.
Well, the psychology of the game, very, very interesting. As I said, the recent record of Saracens so good. The recent record at this stage of the competition for Munster, we know it's been well documented, not so, but to find themselves in a position where they're 9-6 behind, having played 35 minutes with precious little ball, and now Conor Murray is putting the ball on the kicking tee from this Munster penalty. Tyler Blendell obviously feels this is just outside his range. And we know Conor Murray does a lot of kicking practice these days, and he's more than happy to step into the breach. We've seen him do it time and again, but it's almost on halfway, just 3 or 4 metres inside the Saracens half of the field. On the angle, it's roughly half the length of the field. Barely a puff of breeze though around the Ricoh Arena in Coventry this afternoon, and he will need to get this absolutely on the sweet spot, give it everything he's got. If there is a little bit of a breeze, it's probably just blowing back in Murray's face. Hands on hips, he's poised and ready, and he strikes it. Oh, he's given that a really, really good nudge. Oh, that's brilliant. And over it goes from Conor Murray from fully 40 metres plus. And we have played 36 minutes, and this game is full of intrigue. It's Saracens 9, Munster 9 in Coventry.
With the momentum of the game, you feel that if Munster go in 9-all, probably it's in their favour.
Yeah, the big thing now is to exit well. It'd be typical Saracens to go down there.
Yeah.
Strettle taps the ball back, they get a penalty, and you've negated all that good work that you've just done.
Yeah, 2 penalties in the space of 6.5 minutes, and a couple of mistakes from Saracens just opened up that window of opportunity, maybe that element of belief, certainly from the Munster supporters around the ground. They're more engaged now than ever. Conor Murray box kicking outside that Munster 22. It's dropping just shy of the Munster 10-metre line, and now they've picked it up here, and they've got options potentially to the left hand side. It was Jean Klein with his hands on it, and on that short side, slither of pitch over on the far side, Munster look to try and break down into Saracens territory once again. They're enjoying a little purple patch in this game, and they're back level, 9 points apiece. 2.5 minutes or thereabouts of the half remaining. Picked up by Niall Scannell, and he's caught in the tackle, and he spilled the ball forward. Such was the ferocity of the challenge. Now, is there the potential for a counter from Saracens? And Alex Good, not quite. Back we go.
There is actually the opportunity, just looking from our position here, for Munster to run it out of their own 22.
Yeah.
It's just it's kind of weighing up the risk.
Yeah, the risk and reward there. Yeah.
We've got Jackson Ray on the edge here. 2 quick wide passes, you could potentially get into this wider channel, bring Liam Williams up, and there's a boatload of space in behind him.
And all their defences, they're close to their ruck, is set up close, and when Murray goes down to box kick, they all retreat very quickly. So kind of a trick play. But yeah, there's a lot at stake to run in, get a cover tackle there, and obviously Jackson Ray probably in those wider channels, he's going to be tough over the ball.
There's a Munster player offside following the knock on, and a penalty has been drilled down into the Munster 22, and from the line out, Saracens come forward again, but the tenacity in the tackle from the Munster defence is exceptional. Now Farrell, and that's gone backwards. Was it off a Munster hand? But again, Saracens, lots of options, ball carriers at every angle. Jamie George goes in to win it. There's another advantage coming Saracens' way as a Tait is hit pretty hard in the tackle by John Klein, and we're going all the way over on that far side. I thought for a moment it might have been a penalty, but it's not.
Looks like Conor Murray has a small bit of a stinger here, and just been checked. He's been checked once already, he got straight up, just looking at his shoulder.
And then he's making his way back across rather slowly to that far side. You can hear the cries coming up from the Munster support. They know with 30 seconds of the regulation 40, as you said, Johnny, this is a crucial phase of the game for Munster. Just to stay in here at 9-9 would be a hell of a return for 40 minutes given the pressure they've been under.
Yeah, well, the amount of tackles they've made, and it would be credit to their defensive systems that they go in level. The TMO is just checking something here in terms of whether TMO is just checking there whether it was a slap down from Peter Manny in the tackle, and TMO checked that it was a deliberate knock on, which now gives Farrell that opportunity to go 12-9 up.
Yeah, I have to say, as that play developed in real time, given the ball position, although it was difficult to see from our vantage point, it looked as though it definitely had to have gone forward off a Munster hand, and it was there for Peter O'Mahony to contest, and that'll be his plea in any case, but it's a penalty for Farrell, and it is definitely well within range. 26-27 metres out from the Munster posts. And this to nudge Saracens back in front. It's been all about the prowess from the kicking tee of the two number 10s so far. And Munster's number 9, Conor Murray, who landed that really, really exceptional kick just a few moments ago. But as it is, having got back to level terms at 9 each, the potential here for Saracens to retake the advantage on the stroke of half time. And Farrell casting his gaze as he does out of the corner of that left eye up at the target. Rocking back and forward, ball poised on the kicking tee, and he strikes, and it looks pretty good again, and he is absolutely bang on the money, and that is perhaps a fitting end to the half with the boot of Owen Farrell separating the sides. It's yet another penalty for the Saracens fly half, and as Jerome Garr says, sounds the whistles and sends them into the sheds for the halftime team talk. It is a 3-point game. Saracens leading Munster at half-time in this Heineken European Champions Cup semi-final, 12 points to 9. It is very, very much in the balance, and it is all to play for in the second half.
Great stuff there, Conor. Johnny, just looking at that opening 40 minutes then, sort of what you talked about pre-game of Munster just wanting to keep it tight, keep that scoreboard ticking over, and even though Saracens go in at the break in front, it did seem as though about 20 minutes in, Munster found their feet. They sort of got into the heads of Saracens, who started to make a few uncharacteristic mistakes.
Yeah, and those uncharacteristic mistakes gave Munster a platform to get after them attackingly, and I think that's given Munster the opportunity to grow then when they've had ball for a longer period. But the first 15-20 minutes they were just soaking up pressure after pressure, and to be fair to their defence, it really stood up. They had some excellent reads on the edge of the line from Chris Farrell, Andrew Conway. Mike Haley worked his socks off in behind, and in as we spoke about with Tait, an isolating position. But you just would fear with the quality of the bench that Saracens have to come on, what toll that is going to take. But the game is very much in the balance, but Munster's attacking game is very clear, and they're going after them. They're trying to play with a small bit more width, then come back into the middle, and then snap back down to where that blind side or that short side is, so that Saracens can't get into their repeated line speed game. And when they hold on to ball and they're accurate, they look very dangerous.
Matthew, how are Mark McCall and Saracens going in at the break? Are they thinking, okay, we have a 3-point lead and we're taking a huge amount out of Munster physically, and again, we know we can trust our bench? Are they a little bit worried that maybe Munster are coming with more physicality and more to their game than they might have expected?
No, I think they would have. What we've seen from Munster, I think Saracens would have expected. I think the work rate of that Munster back row, O'Mahony, O'Donoghue stand has been phenomenal. Sarries will have prepared for that. They're a very experienced outfit, they're a well-drilled outfit, so I don't think they'll be particularly concerned at this point. They have the systems in place, they're a very system-orientated side. They trust their systems to put them in the right positions, and what Munster are being asked to do, as Johnny's alluded to, tackle-wise, the bench that Sarries have got to come on, the experience and the ball carrying, Vincent Kopp, Will Skelton, Shout Berger, Richard Barrington. That's the only thing that I think concerns me from a Munster perspective, is around that 60-minute mark, the work that tight five, that back row has been asked to do. At what point does that start to tell? And you talk about missing the likes of Keith Earls and Joey Carberry. Tyler Bledendale's doing a good job at kind of being pragmatic and putting Munster in the right areas, but at some point against the Saracens side you need a little bit of X factor, and against Edinburgh, Earls was the catalyst for most of the good things that Munster did that day. So as the game progresses, it's how much are they going to miss guys like Keith Earls, Joey Carberry, and the impact of that Saracens bench.
All right. In a really weird way, it's doing the one thing that could actually lose them the game is the one thing that could win them the game, like taking on Jackson Ray in the wider channel off a kickoff, going after him there and after that space, but they don't execute that. Sorry, score. That's it. It's dead.
At this point in the game, it is risk reward, and it's probably not worth the risk. But as we progress towards that 60-minute, 70-minute mark, depending on what the score is, at some point someone's going to have to take a risk. Saracens, you can get around them. You've got to be really controlled with your feet around that 12-13 channel to be able to bring those open side wingers up, to be able to play around them. You are able to do it, but it's a risk reward thing. And those Saracens wingers, Alex Good closing that gate on the end, are so used to doing that you've just got to be very, very precise at what you're attempting to do.
All right, good stuff, lads. Plenty more to come in the second half. Saracens leading Munster 12-9 at half-time at the Ricoh Arena in Coventry. Pretty sparsely populated Ricoh Arena. We'll chat about that as well after the game, but full live and exclusive commentary of the second half to come. As you may have heard, we're giving you the chance to go to Rugby World Cup 2019 in Japan here on Off the Ball. It's an all-expenses trip to Ireland, Scotland in Yokohama City on September 22nd. It's a brilliant prize, and it's all with thanks to Heineken, worldwide partner to Rugby World Cup 2019 in Japan. We gave away the first green ticket at our roadshow in the Olympia last month. Plenty more to give away between now and May 9th, when all 100 green ticket holders will join us at a special event here in Dublin, after which one lucky winner will be jetting their way to Japan. We're feeling generous this afternoon, so we're going to pick out 3 winners, and for your chance to be one of them, just tell us who this is having a meltdown on the celebrity chase when he didn't know the answer to Bradley Walsh's first question.
It's not a great question to ask at all. Well, I think it's stupid. Sorry, we'll agree to disagree.
Is it a great mystery voice, though?
It's not a great question to ask at all. Well, I think it's stupid. Sorry, we'll agree to disagree.
To enter, just text your name and answer to 53106. Entrance must be over 18, and remember to drink responsibly. Visit drinkaware.ie. Quick break, second half commentary to come, and we'll run you through all the half times in the Premier League as well.
Saracens versus Munster, live from the Ricoh Arena.
On Off the Ball.
Have a great afternoon with Harvey Norman, the #1 in Ireland for home and kitchen appliances.
Go, Harvey, go! FBD Hotels and Resorts present our newest edition, the Heritage Hotel and Spa in Killinard, the perfect location for your next conference or event. Situated between Kildare Village, the Curragh and Portlaoise, it's easily accessible from just about everywhere. Less than an hour from Dublin, just off the M7 motorway at Junction 15. Make an inquiry today and learn about our exciting refurbishment. The Heritage Hotel and Spa, a venue reborn. Discover more at theheritage.com.
This Irish success story is brought to you by Guaranteed Irish.
Did you know that Ming Con and Shannon created the drill used to rescue 33 Chilean miners trapped underground for 69 days in 2010? Global innovators Ming Con, the driller's choice, also supports 106 jobs in the Midwest. Guaranteed Irish helps you support companies that are altogether better choices for our communities. So, look out for it. GuaranteedIrish.ie. Altogether better.
Football Index is reinventing football betting. You can buy and sell the world's top players. Their value may go up and down, but it's not over with the final whistle like a regular bet. Football Index, reinventing football betting.
Start building your portfolio today at footballindex.co.uk. or download the app now. New customers only, minimum deposit and conditions apply. Gamble responsibly.
Easter has arrived at Homebase with our mega deals on outdoor essentials like a Bosch electric Rotac 32 or more, only €115. A 20-pack of bedding plans for only €3.50. And get the Petersburg 6-seater set now only €383.50. Hurry, offers end Monday. Explore the possibilities at Homebase.
Celebrate Easter with Centra. We have great offers in store, like Centra Family Meals Selected Range, now €5 each. Centra Party Food Selected Range, half price now €2 each. And our mega deal until Sunday, Villa Maria Sauvignon Blanc and Las Maras Data Wine, 3 for €25. Centra. Live every day. Enjoy cost sensibly.
Epic entertainment awaits. Sign up for Air Broadband today and get totally unlimited superfast fibre broadband for just $34.99 a month. Plus the Air Sport Pack free, and all on a simple 12-month contract. For more, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible.
New customers only, $59.99 a month thereafter, subject to availability. Air Sport Pack channels subject to change. Bundle activation fee may apply. Offer ends 30th of April. User experience may vary. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
So, who exactly uses U-Store-It, Ireland's largest self-storage company?
I'm an electrician and use U-Store for storing my tools and supplies.
I sell gym equipment online and I use U-Store-It to keep stock.
I'm an online retailer and I use U-Store-It to run my business.
We're moving house and we're using U-Store for all our stuff.
Whatever your storage needs, U-Store-It has the answer. With locations in Dublin, Cork, Waterford and Belfast. Visit us at ustorit.ie. Everybody uses U-Store-It. Do you?
Life is for living, so embrace that Irish spirit of adventure. At FBD, we're here to protect you. If you have a home policy with us, we'll give you a 10% discount on your car insurance. For a quote, call 017 617 617 or visit fbd.ie. FBD Insurance. Protection. It's in our nature. 10% car discount available with an existing FBD home policy. Acceptance criteria, terms and conditions apply. Underwritten by FBD Insurance plc. FBD Insurance Group Limited Trading as FBD Insurance is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland.
Every business starts out small, but with big ambitions. That's where An Post Commerce comes in. Your expert business partner in mail, parcels, and logistics. We don't just help you grow, we help you thrive. And that's a promise. We offer next day delivery to every corner of Ireland with over 1,000 drop-off points. And we know your customers almost as well as you do. See how we can help your business thrive. Search An Post Commerce for your world.
There's over 120 fabulous places to shop at Dundrum, and over 25 places to coffee, snack or brunch, and over 15 places for long lunching or late dining, and a cutting-edge cinema with 12 screens and 3D showings, and a theatre, Dundrum Town Centre, where more happens.
Take steps to improve the energy efficiency of your home. Retrofit Low E+2 heat-retaining glass from Energlaze into your existing frames. For greater comfort and lower heating bills, every upgrade you make makes a difference. See energlaze.ie.
Saracens versus Munster, live from the Ricoh Arena.
On Off the Ball.
Ball poised on the kicking tee and he strikes. And it looks pretty good again. And he is absolutely bang on the money, and that is perhaps a fitting end to the half with the boot of Owen Farrell separating the sides. It's yet another penalty for the Saracens fly half, and as Jerome Gar says, signs the whistles and sends them into the sheds for the halftime team talk. It is a 3-point game. Saracens leading Munster.
Owen Farrell with all the points for Saracens so far. 4 penalties as Saracens lead Munster by 12 points to 9. A couple of penalties from Tyler Blayandal and a monster kick from Conor Murray. I mean, Munster are right in it, but you'd have to say Saracens have looked relatively comfortable for the majority of that opening half. Let's go around the grounds and get the half times from the Premier League. Huddersfield against Watford. Joe Townsend.
Huddersfield 0, Watford 1. The visitors lead thanks to Gerard Deulofeu's 5th minute goal coming after Jonathan Hogg lost the ball in his own half, allowing Watford to break. Some pinball in the box follow before Deulofeu calmly curled into the bottom corner. Huddersfield have battled Isaac Mbenza's 25-yard strike testing keeper Ben Foster and Aaron Moy's free kick going just wide, along with lots of trademark huffing and puffing. But Watford, who have an FA Cup final next month, look as if they're playing at half pace and could go through the gears whenever they like. Huddersfield 0, Watford 1.
At the London Stadium, it's West Ham against Leicester City. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 1, Leicester 0. Not a classic first 45 minutes, but the Hammers will be pretty happy. After they had most of the possession in the first half, they finally managed to end that session with a goal, and it was a good one. Mark Noble with a fine cross from the left-hand side, picking out the head of Michail Antonio, who powered his header home, climbing above Ben Chilwell. As for Leicester, a couple of efforts from Maddison outside the box. All Brighton has been bright, but it's West Ham 1, Leicester 0.
Brighton desperate for something from their game against Wolves at Molineux. With the latest, Alex Winter.
Wolves 0, Brighton 0. Wolves with 66 possession in the opening period, but only creating the one significant chance. Diogo Jota moving forward to the top of the penalty area, and his right foot strike had Matt Ryan beaten, diving down to his right hand side, but the ball clipped the outside of the right hand post, and Brighton survived. They'd be content, the visitors, to play with almost everybody behind the ball in the first half. Plenty of defending to do, but by and large dealing with everything that's come their way pretty comfortably. But Brighton yet to throw a punch coming forward, but as it stands, they're going to snap their run of 5 consecutive defeats, and maybe that will do Chris Hughton's side for the moment. Half time here, Wolves 0, Brighton 0.
And it had moved them 3 points clear of Cardiff City, with both sides having played the same amount of games. So Brighton do have a horrible run in, facing 3 of the top 4 in their final 4 matches. Finally, let's go to the Vitality Stadium. Bournemouth against Fulham. Alan Lewis.
Bournemouth 0, Fulham 0. Amazing that this game is goalless at the break. Really good chances to break the deadlock from both teams. Joshua King fired over from close range from 6 yards out for Bournemouth. Ryan Fraser was denied by a good save from Sergio Ricoh. Fulham's best chances have come from corners. Callum Chambers' header cleared off the line by Nathan Aki, and Artur Boric pulled off an excellent save to deny Odoi. Half time, Bournemouth 0, Fulham 0.
Earlier, Manchester City moved back to the top of the Premier League. A huge win for Pep Guardiola's side. A little bit of revenge in their 1-0 victory against Spurs. Phil Foden scored the only goal of that game after 5 minutes. Kevin De Bruyne went off injured in the first half. It looks as though he may well end up missing the rest of the season. So City a point clear of Liverpool. Both those sides have 4 games remaining. Liverpool take on Cardiff City tomorrow at 4 o'clock. That game will be live here on Off the Ball. Will also be at Goodison for the half-1 kickoff between Everton and Manchester United. Just a reminder before we go back to the Ricoh Arena, we have a massive show coming your way later this month. Ruby Walsh and Robbie Power will be joining us at the Alex Hotel in Dublin on Wednesday, this coming Wednesday, as we preview the grand finale of the jump season, the Punchestown Festival. 39 races, including 12 Grade 1s and over €3 million in prize money. You can get your tickets for that show on offtheball.com/events, and stay listening. Over the next few days we'll be announcing more special guests. It's the Punchestown Festival, April 30th to May 4th. Book your tickets now on Punchestown.com. Punchestown, it's your kind of town. Back over to Coventry for our commentary of the second half. Saracens 12, Munster 9. Take it away, Connor.
And it's the key man from the first half with ball in hand, Owen Farrell, who kicked that penalty on 41 minutes to give Saracens the 12 points to 9 lead, who gets us underway here in Coventry for the second half. Just a 3-point advantage every time Saracens got their noses in front. They were peg-backed by Munster in an action-packed, absorbing opening 40 minutes, which will have taken a huge amount out of both sets of players. Perhaps Munster a little bit more though than Saracens. Munster forced into making 82 tackles in the opening 40 minutes, of which they were successful with 71. 11 penalties whistled by the referee, 6 conceded by Munster, 5 by Saracens, a couple of them by the man carrying the ball into contact there, Maro Itoje. One change to tell you about on the Saracens team. Nick Tompkins has come in for Brad Barrett, the captain, who obviously is not fully fit yet following that ankle injury, and did require a little bit of attention in the opening 40 minutes. So he is gone from that midfield, and the game resumes in much the same vein as it did for the lion's share of the opening 40 minutes, with both sets of players just hammering into each other on that Munster 10-metre line. It's now with Farrell. Munster calling for numbers over on that far side, and the attack is switched in field to Billy Vunipola via George Cruz, and here they come with Farrell again, and he finds Tompkins. First real involvement for him with ball in hand, but he's well tackled by Conor Murray. Back it goes from Spencer to Maro Itoje now. 10 or 11 metres into that Munster half of the pitch on the right hand side, almost in front of the post now though. They go from Good to Farrell. Good line in there from Rhodes, and they wait and they're poised again on that outside. Saracens looking to test the Munster edge defence, and Conway calling for a few more resources over on that far side. Munster pile the bodies in, make the challenges. And the threats are coming from all angles. That's out the back door really cleverly from Billy Vunipola, and it finds its way to Mako Vunipola. All the early pressure in the opening 2 minutes here. Phase after phase coming from Saracens. Mike Rhodes into contact again. Munster bodies are over it, but they're peeled out of the way. Farrell thought about the kick, dummied the kick. Instead it's just a little pop pass to his right hand side to Tompkins, and now Alex Good is calling for them to come back against the green. Through the hands they go from Cruz to Mako Vunipola. Remember, a guy who's not played for the last 2.5 months, but he's been heavily involved. So too is Farrell. Oh, that's really clever from the fly half. Drew the tackle and then popped the ball out of the back of his hand, and the pressure relentless now on this Munster rearguard. Can they hold out? They managed to do that for 40 minutes, but they're under big pressure now. Saracens come looking in numbers right over in that far corner. They're queuing up here, and there's the first try. Ball is grounded, and Mike Rhodes gets in, and the pressure, relentless as it was, just had to tell. And that looks like a key moment in the game. Munster's rearguard stood firm for 40 minutes, but 3 minutes after the restart in Coventry, Saracens have the first try of the afternoon.
Yeah, they just looked very comfortable in multi-phase there, and it was just wave after wave. They got quite tight for one period, and then they flashed the ball out wide and after reload. But what they're utilising quite well is that inside runner off 10 to try and get easy go forward there around the ruck, and then just multiple runners at the line there, and a tough read on the edge.
It's just so efficient. It's just a simple play. There's no risk to it. Owen Farrell options inside and out. He knows that those guys are going to carry, they're going to recycle. It's going to draw on the energy reserves of those Munster defenders, and this is kind of the inevitable result of that.
It is the perfect start to the second half. It is what Mark McCall will have expected of his team. It's what they'll have spoken about in the dressing rooms at half-time. The execution was clinical. The pressure was relentless. The end result somewhat inevitable, as is the 2 points from the kicking tee. The conversion slotted with a minimum of fuss from Owen Farrell, and there's a good deal of daylight now. It's a 10-point game. Saracens 19, Munster 9, 44 minutes on the watch.
You just have to keep an eye on Colin Murray as well. He doesn't look entirely comfortable with that shoulder of his. He's carrying it around. It'd be a huge blow for Munster if he was to go off at this stage as well.
Yeah, he just got a bit of another. We commented earlier on that we thought it was a stinger, but he just got up and he kind of hit himself on the edge of the line there. Oh.
The tackles flying in. Munster are on halfway, and they work the ball clear to Kilcoyne. They need something by way of a riposte as soon as they can provide it, potentially here from CJ Stander. Carries up to halfway, but he's smashed in the tackle, and then the ball is delivered at pace from Conor Murray to John Ryan, but before the ball has even arrived into his grasp almost, he's seized upon by two Saracens players. The line speed defensively from Saracens is something to behold. That sent skyward from Liam Williams, and it's taken by Conor Murray, who manages to get his pass away to Mike Healy under pressure. It was ambitious from Murray, under pressure from Williams, and things not going the way of Munster. Knock on.
It's a good decision there from Tyler Blendall. There's nothing on, and the last thing you want to do against the Saracens side is panic and feed their line speed. So to kick's the right option, but it's the contrast between the two teams. Saracens, every kick that they put up, they've got there's escorts, the kick chase is good. Munster there's no one chasing. Liam Williams has got loads of time to pick and choose what he wants to do, and ultimately now Saracens have got the ball back.
There's a bit more intent from the Saracens kicking game in terms of what Tait's talking about. They just seem to have a tiny bit more intent, both defensively and attackingly. There when Conor Murray goes up to collect the ball, he's hit immediately. There's pressure then, which leads to a miscommunication to himself and Haley, and a knock on where Munster went, it's the correct option, but it's a laboured kick chase line to get in, and it's all very easy for the backfield from Saracens' perspective.
I think it's seen that kicking game has been positive. A lot of the times we think of kicking as just you kick it when there's no other options. Sarries, it's very much part of their strategy in terms of putting the other team under pressure, getting field position, conserving energy, so that actually they can change the tempo when they're down in your red zone.
Well, it is a Saracens scrummage on the Munster 10-metre line in the middle of the pitch. The two front rows have gone down. There's a scrum penalty coming here from Jerome Garces. And there's just another little tilt in the balance of this game. And this is kickable for Farrell, 19 points to 9, and they'll just look to turn the screw here if they can. And certainly the pack of forwards in black, Saracens over on that far side, getting the upper hand on their Munster counterparts on that occasion.
It's just the last 6 minutes are exactly what Munster didn't want. It's just been a complete momentum shift. They weren't able to build their line speed just because of the multiple runners at the line, and then they just err. This is it's what Saracens do. They just build that pressure, let you make the mistakes, and then they just capitalise on them.
Should be interesting to see if this goes over, how that changes the Munster tactics. Whether actually it's one of those you got to run, you got to risk, you got to try and take the opportunities out on those wider channels.
And then, as you said at half time, if you're not accurate then in that game, then it can be a dark, it can be a long day.
And so Farrell waits again. 14 points already to his credit. This to surpass the 16 points he got when the sides met at the semi-final stage a couple of seasons ago. He's a long way out on the Munster 10-metre line. That is absolutely beautiful from Owen Farrell. Metronomic with the boot from the England fly half. That was going nowhere else but straight between the uprights. And it has been a very, very difficult 7 minutes or so for Munster in this second half. Mark McCall's side very much in the box seat now and looking pretty good. 22 points to 9. Are we seeing the early signs of fatigued Munster players? Such was the level of attritional defence they had to go through in the opening 40 minutes.
I think from a Munster perspective here, they know that Sarries are going to box kick. They can start to drop those players on the far side early to give them an opportunity to counter-attack.
Healy is under this one. Well, it's a little bit loose. Last touch was off a Munster player, and it's a Saracens line out just a yard or two inside their own half of the field.
Again, multiple numbers around the ball. Tait already commented that Strettel's not going up to compete to try and catch. He's gone up to knock back. That knockback there gets to the ball first from Haley, hits off Haley, goes into touch. Sarri's ball.
Jamie George again is very accurate and effective with his line-out throwing, which has been very good this season. Somewhere up around 95% plus, and there's another penalty coming here for Saracens. Farrell knows that, and he crossfields, kicks to that far side. Oh, there's gaps opening up now, and with the freedom of the scoreboard, that little bit of breathing space now, Saracens just relaxing into their rhythm and starting to delve into their little bag of tricks, and it could be a long afternoon for Munster if Saracens have their way. Spencer now sniping around the fringes, looking for the support runners off his shoulder. Munster back in numbers just to quell that threat for how long, you wonder, as Itoje brings Jackson Ray into the play. And they're queuing up here now on the right hand side potentially for Saracens. Jamie George back inside on the Munster 22. Relentless, quick recycle ball. Vunipola now takes two Munster players to put him to ground, and Peter O'Mahony can't get his hands in there to try and slow it down effectively enough. Itoje carries it on 2 or 3 metres. Every single Saracen player doing their level best to find a soft shoulder and try and breach that gain line. Spencer, good service again. Tompkins now, fresh set of legs having come in at half time for Barrett. Spencer just keeps the options going. Jamie George on this occasion stopped by 2 Munster players, but they're hanging on here. Munster having conceded that try, they're desperately trying to avoid the concession of a second try at this stage of the game, which would already mean that they've got a huge amount of work to do. Tompkins, strong carry into Blendal, and they're still inside that Munster 22, only a yard or so. Popped up the floor by Lomasatelli, is recycled again. Mako Vunipola this time, brought to ground by John Ryan. Spencer digs it out. Farrell waits, assesses the options, goes a little bit deeper to Good, over the top, and it's spilled through the hands, uncharacteristically so, from Liam Williams.
In that phase of play, you watch it, and they played off, I'd say maybe there's 18, 19 phases. They played off 10 5 times, and only once in that 5 times did they play off did they play off Farrell? It was Good, it was Lazowski, they all stood up. So having those multiple threats at 10, I mean, it's very hard to defend because you don't know which side of the ball they're going to go, and it just gives you so many options to play both sides of the ball repeatedly. It's just a big ask in multi-phase when they get into that multi-phase game, and they're so comfortable there.
And it's not rocket science necessarily what they're doing.
No.
The detail is around having two players loading up one defender, and invariably picking the right decision. And when those players happen to weigh the best part of 18 or 19 stone, carrying over the gain line, the breakdown's been really efficient as well. It's not given the opportunity to Tait Byrne to get over the ball, Peter O'Mahony to get over the ball, so they're just generating quick ball. It's just relentless.
Yeah, be interesting to see now what happens. Dan Goggins come on here, but be interesting to see kind of the one person for me on the Munster's game on Munster's bench, especially from a backline perspective, that can really give them that kind of attacking edge is JJ Hanrahan, to throw him in somewhere 12, 15, but give him a small bit of game time, because he is that joker in the pack that can create something out of nothing.
And so it's Dan Goggin in for Mike Healy and Stephen Archer in to that front row for John Ryan. The Saracens have it over on that far side on the Munster 22. 50 minutes gone. Saracens leading by 22 points to 9. They have been going through the gears in this second half, and they were in a pretty high gear when they wrapped up at half-time. In any case, it's the try scorer, Mike Rhodes, who carries into the Munster 22. It's there for Spencer. Farrell and Good. Is there a way through? He breaks through the tackle of Conor Murray, who looks more and more as though he's carrying his shoulder a little bit, although he fires into the clear out there on that occasion. Spencer once again to Billy Vunipola. No way through on this occasion, but there's real purpose and poise and composure about this team, and Farrell is exuding that. Williams now trying to make amends for that dropped ball over on the far side, and all angles covered here. Mako Vunipola now on the charge. Saracens trying to expose Munster around the fringes. They're only 6 or 7 metres out. Munster hanging on with this deficit in mind. A second try would be absolutely telling, and to be fair to Saracens, it would be just reward, because they've been really good the opening 12 minutes of this second half. There's a penalty coming here. Farrell options to his right hand side, and it's a little bit of a loose pass on this occasion to Strettle, so back we go for the penalty.
What they do so well, multi-phase, is they organise two lines of attack so simply, and it's just their communication levels are off the charts. Like, it's, you can see Farrell in behind and then he's talking to Tompkins, he's talking to Lazowski, Alex Good is popping up in the middle of the park, but they always have that short runner, but they also have that second line out the back who is a back in that position that can shift the ball as well. Just looks so easy. Here's JJ. So it's time for JJ Hanrahan's introduction. They do need something a little bit special here, Munster. So they're going to go for the mercurial talents of JJ Hanrahan, who was man of the match away at Benetton in Treviso on his 100th appearance in the Pro 14 last week. Meantime, the simple task for Owen Farrell just to keep that scoreboard ticking over, and it does not look handsome from a Munster point of view. Saracens in full control in this second period, and they now lead Munster by 25 points to 9. They turned around, remember, 12 points to 9 in the lead.
Yeah, it's a good call, that, taking Tyler Blendahl off. You commented already today around how well Rory Scannell and Chris Farrell have defended, so I think to leave that axis as it is and change things up a little bit at 10, I think it's a good decision.
Yes, had the option potentially, should they require to move Blendahl into midfield, or indeed put JJ in there, put JJ at fullback and move Dan Goggin into midfield, but the option is to withdraw Tyler Blendahl. Now Munster have won that restart, and Kilcoyne up to the Saracens 10 metre line, through the hands of JJ Hanrahan they go. Vunipola with a strong challenge, Mako that is. Munster just need to get a little bit of a foothold here. Back inside it goes from Hanrahan cleverly to Scannell, who took a very, very good line. Ball is there eventually for Conor Murray under pressure. There's Mario Itoje again testing the referee. Murray now. And on that counter ruck coming in from Saracens, it's legal, says the referee, and it's a real fight for the ball on the floor. Jerome Garces perfectly happy to let play continue, and Munster eventually get their hands on it in the shape of Conor Murray. Gets it away to Niall Scannell, can't get beyond Jamie George on that Saracens 10-metre line. And the composure that we were talking about with Saracens in attack at the other end just a couple of moments ago, not quite there. The cohesion now from Munster. They need to find something though. They need to look to their big ball carriers to try and puncture this rear guard. John Klein is one of those, and so too Chris Farrell. And as I say that, and Farrell takes a good line, okay, took the pass a little bit high, but he was absolutely thumped in the challenge by Vunipola. Fascinating contest. Saracens are so good defensively, they're very strong in attack, and Jackson Ray with another really strong shoulder. No way through whatsoever for Munster, and John Ryan, not for the first time this afternoon, is double teamed in the tackle. Stephen Archer, in fact, and up goes the ball from Hanrahan. A good test for Alex Good, and he is equal to it inside his own 22. Took it really well under pressure. The Saracens holding out, and they look reasonably comfortable, and they're going to get another decision from the referee. Jerome Garces has spotted something there, playing a penalty advantage. Hoisted downfield and collected by Conway. And we spoke about Munster's need to find clean line breaks and
offside.
Yeah, I think I'd be pretty annoyed if I was Munster. There's about 3 or 4 occasions where Saracens are miles offside and it's not been picked up.
There was a little bit of a gap there for Dan Goggin. Took it at pace from Farrell, attacked the line, almost made good purchase. Back inside they go to Kilcoyne. No shortage of endeavour. That's a prerequisite at this level for Munster. You know you'll get that time and time again, but they need to find a cutting edge and find some way through. Farrell is turned over and dumped to the turf. Archer again.
Speak about Saracens in attack just being so comfortable. They're so comfortable in defence. Everyone knows their roles.
It's incredible. Off the kickoff, so this all started with a kickoff where Munster won the ball back, and Munster haven't been inside the Sarries 10 metre.
And in the end, with no real other option on, Hanrahan has kicked one towards the corner flag, just bouncing a metre or two shy. It's been returned downfield to Conor Murray on the halfway line now. JJ Hanrahan, there's nobody at home in the backfield over on the far side. Hanrahan elects not to kick and runs into contact, and for his troubles he gets absolutely thumped by that man Billy Vunipola, who has made a huge amount of tackles. But you could attach that stat to any number of Saracens players in this game. They're absolutely relishing this. Tadhg Byrne on the carry now this time. We haven't mentioned him too much this afternoon. We certainly haven't seen him with his usual turnover capacity at the breakdown, but Munster do have a little bit of an opportunity here. It's a penalty.
I think if the Saracens are sending one-off flyers in defence, you're seeing it with Billy Vunipola there. Maratoji's doing it a lot of the time. It's got to be policed better, but if Munster can get a little tip option off that player under pressure, there are holes in the Saracens' defence.
Yeah, very much. And just as you said, controlling your feet in that, like you said, half time, controlling your feet in that area will give you that opportunity. That was an incredible passage of play. We've just seen in the first 12 to 13 minutes how good and how comfortable Saracens are. That last 5 minutes just shows how comfortable they are in defence. It's incredible that Munster held the ball for nearly 4 or 5 minutes there and never got inside the Saracens 10 metre line. It's incredible. It was an incredible piece of defensive play from Saracens.
Couple of replacements on the way for Saracens, but before that, from the penalty, Niall Scannell will try and hit this Munster line-out. Midway inside the Saracens 22. If there's going to be anything in this game for Munster, you feel they've got to get a 7-pointer at this stage.
As a tired Munster player, I can't imagine a 140-kilo Will Skelton is the thing you want to see.
No, after just basically playing your heart out for 5 minutes and go nowhere, how disheartening must that be? Big moment here though. If they can score a try here, here's massive opportunity.
Jack O'Donoghue it was who took the line out, and the ball is there for Conor Murray. Assesses the option and goes flat to that Saracens line. and feeds Chris Farrell. And Conor Murray on the burst then spotted a little bit of a gap. Couldn't quite make it through. There was a penalty coming all the way, which was a good job because it was knocked on at the base of that ruck from Stephen Archer, but Munster have the penalty and this will go back into the corner. Shades of Alan Quinlan some 11 years ago at this very stadium against Saracens in the semi-final when Conor Murray broke through there, but he didn't get too far. Pegged back by Vunipola and they go to the corner again. Munster fighting for their lives in this game and they need to find a big play. Scannell has the ball in two hands and he goes to Tait Byrne. Can Munster come up with one of those line-out maul drives for which they are so accustomed? The ball is in the hands of Scannell and now it's Conor Murray and now it's Farrell again, and he's so powerful from that kind of range, but he's swarmed by 4 or 5 Saracens player. Munster need quick ball, they don't get it. That is brilliant defence, nothing else to say, but absolutely exceptional from Saracens. No way through for Chris Farrell and they will not have their line breached on this occasion.
Without trying to sound too red-eyed, I think there's that call from the maul not to, that was going forward, that was clearly dropped. Not to not give that is a very, is tough. The one over the line, yeah, that's marginal. You feel it's definitely it probably does. He had the Farrell and the tacklers have created a maul, but the maul off the line, it was definitely dragged down by Saracens going forward.
To put a Munster hat on, I think Garces was pretty quick to call that as a maul. From the Saracens perspective, it's obviously fantastic defence by Farrell and co.
Yeah.
There's a bit of attention being required here for Dave Kilcoyne just beneath us. Doesn't look entirely happy. You may well see Jeremy Loughman come in. Yeah, he's stripped and ready to go. I think it's an ankle issue for Dave Kilcoyne. And it's those small marginal decisions when Munster badly needs something in this game. All of a sudden we've only got 20 minutes left and they're chasing a 25 points to 9 deficit. Billy Holland is coming in for Jean Klein. And as I said, Jeremy Loughman in for Dave Kilcoyne. 20 points from the boot of Owen Farrell and just that one Mike Rhodes try. If you're just joining us live and off the ball on News Talk this Easter Saturday afternoon, 60 minutes gone at the Ricoh Arena in Coventry. Saracens on course for yet another final. They lead by 25 points to 9. And it's their scrum half, Ben Spencer, feeding that scrummage just 5 metres out from their own try line. Munster have turned it over. Now is the opportunity. Farrell through the hands. Wide they go. Opportunity. Sweetenham is in. Munster have their lifeline and it's come from turnover ball at set piece time. What a scrummage that is from the pack of forwards. Through the hands they go. No Keith Earls. Darren Sweetenham in the side and he finishes off, and maybe, just maybe, there is life in this Munster team yet.
I think that probably equals out. It's also another small bit of a crazy decision there. Saracens were going forward, a bit of control error at the back, but the Saracens player are very much they're arguing that Conor Murray got his foot in at the 8's feet to go check it. They're not allowing the check here, so I think Jerome Gar says it probably levelled itself out over the last 90 seconds, but I'd say the Saracens lads are pretty clear that they felt Conor Murray got a bit of a foot in there at the number 8's feet.
It's a really good play there from Chris Farrell to spoken about it before, just to hold his feet, let the defender come to him. He's still got enough time to get the pass away, and probably a little bit fortuitous from Sweetenham's perspective that Alex Good looked like he lost his footing a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, Munster will remind us they've been on the wrong end of a good degree of skullduggery in high-profile European games during the year. So if Conor Murray has got away with one, well, so be it. Oh, goodness me, what about that for a kick from the very far touchline from JJ Hanrahan? on the scoreboard from a Munster point of view looks a good deal healthier now. Darren Sweetman's try converted by the right boot of JJ Hanrahan. Saracens' lead is cut. Saracens 25, Munster 16, 62 and a half minutes in.
This next 5 minutes is huge from Munster's perspective. How they deal with this restart and how quickly they can get back down into that Saracens half.
Massive shift by Makabunapola, to be fair. 62 minutes after 2.5 months out. Really, really big shift by him.
The restart is taken in by CJ Stander.
I just like Munster on the restarts. I prefer to have a JJ Hanrahan catching that, because he can then kick it straight away. You've not got to go through the phases. It allows the Marotojis to get pressure on the box kick. Taking that kick first phase, it relieves all sorts of pressure.
Yeah. There's going to be a back row change in the offing for Munster now, because Arno Botha, the sizable presence of the South African, is stripped and ready to enter the fray.
A set piece move here from Sarries. They've got Ben Spencer, the 9, stood at the front of the line. I expect him to swing around the back and use the
Alex Goon standing at 10 as well there in terms of the flip, so multiple options again.
Spencer out to Good, and out the back door they go to Farrell, and now Straddle again. Good challenge in there from Rory Scannell. What's the decision here? Munster fans over on the far side are appealing for something. Referee's not interested. Saracens ball on the Munster 10-metre line. Through the hands they go to Farrell and to Toje once again. Farrell, this time he puts his boot to it. Doesn't quite find the eye of the needle he was looking for, and Munster have it in the shape of Dan Goggin and now Conor Murray and Tyg Byrne. Munster need a big final 15 minutes or so from their more established names in that side that are out there now, just to keep themselves in this game. An X score absolutely crucial, of course, it goes without saying. Chris Farrell has had a good game with ball on hand. He's been a big target. He's carried the fight to Saracens.
This is where we get into that risk reward scenario, where you chance your arm for a few phases and then look to kick the ball longer.
Hanrahan does that, and he got plenty of height on it, but it was a really good take again by Liam Williams, who has been largely very good under the high ball. And here comes Saracens again. Skelton. And speaking of sizable presence, Good, can he spot a way through? Saracens into the Munster half of the field, but they've coughed up possession. The referee says they only did that because there was a Munster hand in there, and a chorus of boos rings out again.
Yeah, for me that's a legitimate turnover from Munster there. I think we've seen it 2 or 3 times today. Maro Itoje coming in from the wrong side, not coming through the gate.
Yeah, like he's first on the ball there, like that's a very, very harsh penalty, given that he's saying that it was from the tackler. Like, it's a very, very harsh penalty. Tyg Byrne straight in over that ball, no ruck. He's entitled to go for that ball.
Yeah, we're watching it again on the big screen, and Tyg Byrne, who of course came into this game 14 turnovers in the competition, more than double the amount of anybody else on the field, and he would have thought that was easy pickings. The referee has not seen it that way, and just when Munster had a huge degree of momentum in the game, 65 minutes on the watch, albeit trailing 25-16, but very much back in it with that 7-pointer from the Sweetenham try. They could be a further 3 in arrears here if Farrell finds his target again, and he has been flawless so far. It's not often you will hear Munster supporters booing the kicker when they're booing the referee, to be absolutely honest, but now there is silence for Farrell. On the Munster 10-metre line. Now, has he pushed that a little bit to the right-hand side? Is there an element, perhaps, of poetic justice in that the first one of the afternoon that Farrell actually misses?
I'm trying to remain neutral, but justice is probably the right word.
Yeah, no, I like, that was a legitimate turnover, so at least that kind of nullifies itself. But I think, what Tait's saying in terms of, Saracens are sending that shooter out of the line. If Munster can get their arrowhead correctly in their system, with that 1-2-3 system, to actually play that tip on short, it's a massive opportunity. It's not a massive risk because you're only playing a tiny little pop ball, but that's something definitely that they can probably get a decent chunk of change out in the last 15 minutes.
I think best case you're a line break, worst case you're a carry under momentum, and it gives you that front football.
Hanrahan's restart has been knocked forward by Mara Itoje. Munster have it with Conor Murray, and the ball is dropped and lost forward. So we'll go back for the first knock on.
So you can't afford now to go to structure because, you know, Tait's stat of, you know, Saracens being, you know, scoring the majority of their points after 3 phases, within 3 phases, can come back to really kill you. So they need, when they get opportunities like that and they get turnover ball, they win the ball in there, they need to be accurate and they need to play.
I think from this position, because David Stratton on this open side wing, he has to be kind of on a half. It presents an opportunity to chance your arm, come wide, bring him up, put the ball in behind, put pressure on Alex Good, isolated back here, rather than looking to hit up short. You're then inviting that Sarries pack to get involved from a defensive situation.
Yes, you're almost like a boxer, just avoiding the centre of the ring and certainly not getting yourself caught in a corner with a puncher, you know, who can put you on the turf, on the canvas anytime he connects properly. You've got to keep them moving around the pitch, and they've only got 12 minutes or so to do that. They need another try and then some. And the supporters, as you can probably hear on our microphones here in Coventry, doing their level best. There's a huge amount of Munster supporters. There's not a huge amount of supporters in the ground, it's sad to say. I remember the game here in 2008. It was packed to the rafters, 30,000 plus. There's probably a little bit under half of that, as Nathan was hinting at half time. That is an altogether different discussion point. Munster trying to have their say in proceedings on the field now and potentially get themselves within striking distance of a final, somewhere they've not been since 2008. Once again, there's contestable ball on the floor. And Jerome Garces puts out his arms to say, play away. Saracens have pinched it. Forward they come with George Cruz, making his 50th European appearance this afternoon. Farrell kicks one in behind. JJ Hanrahan was alive to that, and off goes Hanrahan. And they've got to be brave here, Munster. And they've got to find something. They need to find players with ball in hand that can create something. Andrew Conway is certainly one of those. He scored 38 tries down the years in Munster colours. If he can come up with another Toulon moment, that would do just perfectly for Munster, you feel here. Farrell
carried very well today, hasn't he? He's put in a really big shift and carried on the short side multiple times.
Into contact goes Billy Holland. Back they go to the boot of JJ Hanrahan, and he thumps one downfield. What will be the option for Saracens and Good? It's to kick one into the Munster 22 straight down the middle of the pitch, back to from where it came, Hanrahan, and this time they keep ball in hand, and he invites the attack from Darren Sweetman, who has to come in and try and find a little bit of a gap, taking a circuitous route back in field. No way through for Sweetman, there for Conor Murray, and back in they go again to Archer. Munster still in their own half of the field, some 10 metres into their own half. Was that a little bit high for Mara Itoje? Fair game, says Johne just to my right with a shake of the head, and it's there for Conor Murray. Hoists the box kick, not a huge amount of distance on it. Tight to this tram line on the near side, brilliantly fielded again by Williams, and he wasn't held in the tackle by CJ Stander, and he got away from Conor Murray too. Really good play from the winger. Back in field they go to Barrington. Middle of the pitch, inside the Munster half of the field, back against the point of the attack. Lozowski through the hands, Jamie George on the outside is Strettle. Strettle gets away, he's past 2 and 3, inside Holland, tapped by Lockman. That was important by the replacement loose head prop. Really good run from Strettle now. Farrell, real opportunity. Munster 6s and 7s, can they get the cover across? Just in time. Saracens held short, but for how long? Back they come with Richard Barrington. They're a metre short of that Munster trial, and in goes Spencer. Rhodes on his shoulder. Vinipola, can he get it down? Try! And that surely is that. 9 minutes left to go, and Saracens on the defensive find their way through with another ruthless attack, and it's Vunipola with a try.
And this all comes back to that right-hand scrum. We talked about moving that ball to the width to exit. They looked like we're going to move the ball to the width to exit. Held on for it too long, didn't allow Scannell to use his left foot. Saracens pressure that breakdown, turned the ball over. You're constantly chasing your tail. Sarries are on the front foot.
And you're playing in that grey area where Saracens really excel in terms of, you know, they'll target that breakdown, go after it. 3 or 4 guys in over the ball, and just created that. It just created a mess at the breakdown, and they forced a turnover. Then Munster get the ball back, and after that they've a really poor exit where they just don't get anyone up to contest. Liam Williams wins the air, and then really good hands, and that's a hooker down the edge to create that break for Strettle. Jamie George squares up just at the right time, squares up, puts Strettle into space. But I'd say that's it now. It's just,
I think it just comes back, we spoke to you about it in the first half, is around kicking on your terms.
Yeah.
Saracens are very much kicking the ball as part of their offensive, their attacking strategy when they're on the front foot, whether that's crossfield or there's kicks in behind. Munster appear to be kicking the ball when they've almost run out of options. They'll play a few phases and then actually we'll go back and we'll kick it. It allows Sarries to get set in the backfield. It's not on the front foot. It's a tactical, it's a strategy thing.
Farrell's conversion attempt is very good, and it's 2 more points in the ledger for the Saracens fly half, who's orchestrated things beautifully, and he is, for one error from the kick, he has been flawless. The try scorer, Billy Vunipola, by the way, Mako long since on the bench, of course, as we look at it again on the big screen, and he had a little bit of work to do to get that down, but he did manage to grind it right on the try line. Conor Murray meantime has come off, so Albie Matthewson is in on the Munster side. And we've played 73 minutes and 45 seconds. It's double scores. Saracens 32, Munster 16, and that, as they say, is surely that, as Andrew Conway knocks the ball on 5 metres outside his own 22. And it is going to be, you feel, yet another semi-final disappointment for Johan van Graan and Munster.
That's a sign of kind of Saracens' mindset and intent. They put up a little kick, 4 or 5 guys chasing through hard on the ball. Now it should have been a routine take for Andrew Conway, but just knock on. But it's that intent with 6 minutes to go. You're 16 points up. Still, there's 5, 6, 7 guys chasing repeated efforts as hard as they can towards the ball.
It says the strength of this Saracens team. You take off Ben Spencer, you've been on Richard Wigglesworth, who equally adept with that kicking game as well.
It's that 60-minute mark that you spoke about a lot, Tait. It's when you bring on those guys. It's whether to in the situation they can do both. They can close out a game or they can chase a game.
I think Sarries now they're kind of reaping the rewards of that first half. The Munster defence was so brave, and the work rate that back 5 in the scrums had to get through, unfortunately, has started to tell.
Yeah, so many options off the bench. Wigglesworth not least of them, 35 now, but with 33 England caps in his locker and a couple of World Cups behind him. You think there's a little bit more here potentially for Saracens. They come on the attack with the first involvement of the newly introduced Joe Gray, and he goes to his left hand side to Alex Good, still full of running and still full of invention and intent and no let up whatsoever. 16-point margin, and still they come searching for a third try. 22 points for the irrepressible Owen Farrell on his return to the side. They didn't have him against Glasgow. They racked up 7 tries and 52 points. There was only 3 points in it at half time, remember. And Munster fought their way back from 25-9 behind, but that little bit of daylight that they saw following the Sweetman try didn't last too long. It has been a hugely impressive display from Mark McCall's side, and here they come again. Oh, that's really good. Owowski gets it away. Lewington, he too off the bench for the final 7 or 8 minutes here. Didn't expect to start today, wasn't named in the match day 23, but for that injury, hamstring injury to Sean Maitland. Tyke Byrne there trying to turn it over, and Munster have managed that. Out the back they go. Can they manufacture something here from inside their own 22? It's a long way to that Saracens try line. Sweetenham stopped shy of the Munster 10-metre line. Hanrahan now just outside the 22.
Johnny's alluded to the mindset of this Saracens team. They're 32-16 up, and you've still got that speed, that pressure off the line. Munster trying to throw everything but the kitchen sink at it, and Saracens are more than comfortable again.
And that's off turnover ball, where you have no chance to really build your connections. The ball goes to width, and they're under pressure. And then they have, when they come off the edge there, they have a full line set coming hard off the line.
It's the speed with which they reorganise and the communication. You spoke about the two lines of attack potentially off phase play deep into the 22, and not only do they have those options, but the communication, everyone knows immediately what's happening. There's no ambiguity around what's going on. Meantime, I think we're just going to spot a little bit of potential, is it foul play? It's the referee's assistant on the near side that has alerted Jerome Garces to it, and it's a two-man tip tackle, and that does not look good.
I think in the current climate, under the current rules, you could be looking at.
Yeah, you won't.
You've only seen
they
it.
just have to slow it down. You see, but when you do, I do have an issue with the fact that they slow it down, and the comfortable referees in the whole thing say play it real time. You're slowing that down frame by frame. It does look like he lands on his neck to head, but if you watch it real time, the likelihood is he actually manages to fall correctly and fall on his right shoulder.
It's Tait Byrne is the Munster player. I didn't quite catch the number of the Saracens player. Who does he want to talk to?
I think
here?
it's Mara Toji and Vincent Koch. I think.
Yeah, it's both of them. Yeah.
I think it's more so it's the South African, isn't it, Vincent Koch? He's going to get a yellow.
I think with all of these rules, the players understand that they're trying to implement them for their welfare.
Yeah.
I think the frustration comes from a player's perspective when it's the consistency in around that, how that interpretation occurs isn't there.
And that, Munster were last week. That was an issue over in Treviso too. That they probably should have had a red card. In terms of what happened.
Well, they've worked the line out here on the short side, but we've got two rugby balls on the pitch. Well, yeah, we'd need to see that one again probably, but I mean, if Tait Byrne, when contact comes with the ground, if it's head or his neck, it's an automatic red card. There can be little interpretation in there if it's his head, and it didn't look great.
And he hasn't put him down.
There's force as well, yeah. Now, Albie Mathewson has found a little bit of open country, and then he's just had his ankles tapped by Maro Itoje. And Itoje is over the ball again, and the appetite, the work rate of these Saracens players, 77 minutes and 41 minutes gone in the game. They're leading by 32 points to 16, and there's no let up. It's exhausting from a Munster point of view. It's demoralising, I'm sure, as well, to every time you get the ball, you get smashed in the tackle. You've got absolutely no room or time to work in. The organisation and skills of Saracens, both in attack and defence, is exceptional, and they will have a big say, you feel, in the final next month in Newcastle. Through the hands to Peter O'Mahony, and he kicks it down into the Saracens 22. Little grubber from the Munster captain, and it'll be a Saracens line out inside their own 22 into the final embers of the game. Tough day at the office for Munster, and it's going to go down as another semi-final lost. We know all about the stats that they came into this one looking to jettison. It's their 14th semi-final. They will have lost their last 7. For Saracens, it will be the 6th time in the last 7 seasons they've reached a semi-final, and now 4 in the last 5 they've made it through to the final. That is pretty impressive stuff. And irrespective of your persuasion, this afternoon they are very good value for it. It was very much a contest up to half time, but such was the fast start that Saracens made to the second half. There's been a sense of inevitability about the scoreline. They will be a massive test for either Leinster or Toulouse, who of course play in Dublin tomorrow in that second semi-final.
The Heineken Man of the match has been chosen. It's Saracens the Whites.
The man of the match is being announced over the public address system as Billy Vunipola.
Again, off their first phase there, line speed, shoot, they come out of the line, they don't have enough depth, as you already spoken about, Tait, and they force a turnover.
So It's a remarkable thing. What we're 2 minutes from the end of the game. It's the energy and the attention to the detail, both in attack and defence, that Sarries have brought to it. And as a club, you've got to admire the way that whoever plays for them, they're so well dressed and so well rehearsed in that Saracens way that it doesn't seem to impact them. We spoke how important Brad Barrett was pre-game. We barely noticed, with the greatest respect to him, that he went off. Nick Pumpkins has filled that role admirably.
Well, even I was chatting to Murray Kinsella before kick-off, and he said he was just watching as Saracens came in and they walked around almost the perimeter of the pitch, and they stopped at 6 different areas, and a different senior player spoke to a different group of players. There was 2 little huddles in every area of the pitch, and everything they did, it was almost military precision. And even when they walked off after the warm-up, everything is set to the minute, and that's reflected in their play. I mean, no matter where they are in the pitch, they follow the copybook. They know they're drilled to do exactly as they've done today. And I suppose, Matthew, on this kind of form, irrespective of, they've had a little bit of a wobble in the Gallagher Premiership of late, but on this kind of form in Europe, I mean, they're certainly more than a match for Toulouse or Leinster, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean,
well, there's the final whistle, just to jump in, because Jerome Garces blows the whistle on Munster's hopes of a European final, because it is Saracens who go marching on, and they will be in Newcastle for the final next month, and they have put Munster to the sword this afternoon. They had to wait and be patient and purposeful, but really from the first whistle they were so physical and they went about their business so ruthlessly, and they got their couple of tries in the second half from Mike Rhodes, and the man of the match on the afternoon, Benny Villapola. There was a Darren Sweetenham try in the second half for Munster, but really the writing was on the wall when they came out so well organised and full of life in the second half. And gentlemen, it's been a cracking contest, but we can have a few quibbles over and above a couple of decisions which the Munster fans will like to look at again in terms of Jerome Garces. We always get those in a rugby game, but Saracens deserving winners in the end.
Yeah, I think so. You can't compliment enough in terms of their repeated efforts and their intensity, both sides of the ball, in terms of their attack and defence. With 15 seconds to go, their line speed coming off a line out creates that turnover where they end up getting a penalty to go to kick the ball out for a full-time whistle like that, and that's 16 points up. It's the only way to describe them is relentless in both attack and defence. It's actually incredible to watch. I say it through gritted teeth, but it is incredible to watch and to see what they've created and how good they are at it. It really is. They are enjoyable to watch from a technical perspective.
It's just that patience with everything they do. We've touched on the system, their systems, both attack and defence, in the Saracens way, but there's the trust in that, and they trust that 50, 60 minutes into the game, they may be battering at the door, but they're going to reap rewards in that final 20. We've spoken about the bench that they brought on, the difference that makes. That's why they're such a threat as a team. It's that, and rugby now is not about that 15, it's about that match day 23 and the players in and around that. And I mean, it's going to take a very, very good side to stop Saracens in the final. Interesting to see how it pans out tomorrow. Leinster Toulouse, for me, Leinster are probably the only team that can challenge them at the moment. I think regardless, it's going to be a good team that's going to have to topple them.
Munster players on the pitch now, just going over to receive the applause of the Munster support over on that far side. They're absolutely out on their feet. They've given it everything, and I'm just looking down at Keith Earls in the middle of them all, commiserating the players. I mean, the questions will come. Joey Carberry and Keith Earls in there, what difference does it make? We will never know, but certainly, I mean, they've hit a brick wall of a Saracens defence and an attack as well.
Those two guys certainly would make a difference in terms of being full strength and fully fit, ready to go. But I would have to agree with Tait. I do think currently at the moment, probably the only side that could potentially take them on is Leinster, in terms of the force that they have and the full 23 that they have ready to come on and really combat Sarries in that last 20 minutes.
All right, good stuff. Connor, I know you're going to run downstairs and grab some interviews. Hopefully we'll have them before we go off air at 6 o'clock. If not, they'll be live on offtheball.com this evening. Johnny, Matthew, you might stick with us. We're going to take a quick break, but we'll be back for further analysis. Munster beaten yet again in the semi-finals of the Heineken Champions Cup. Third year in a row, 7th time in all since they last reached the final. A hugely disappointing afternoon. 32-16, the final score over at the Ricoh Arena. We're going to run you through all the full times in the Premier League very shortly, but just a reminder that Off the Ball is going to be live from the Aviva Stadium on May 2nd for a Liverpool special, and we want you to join us. The Aviva's Havelock area is going to be the venue as we preview the second leg of the Champions League semi-final against Barcelona in the company of Liverpool legend Steve McManaman. We'll be announcing more guests over the coming days. The only way to enjoy it is to be there on the night. You can get your tickets now on offtheball.com/events. That's our Liverpool special with Steve McManaman, May 2nd, with thanks to Boyle Sports. So in the Premier League, the full-time scores, it has finished scoreless between Wolves and Brighton, so that moves Brighton 3 clear of Cardiff. They both have 4 games remaining. Fulham 1-0 up in the closing stages against Bournemouth. Watford won 2-1 away at Huddersfield. It's finished 2-2 between West Ham and Leicester. Earlier, Manchester City went back on top of the league with a 1-0 win over Spurs. We'll go round the grounds and lots more analysis as well from Saracens' win over Munster. Saracens through to the final of the Heineken Champions Cup.
Saracens versus Munster, live from the Ricoh Arena.
On Off the Ball. Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Coming up this week, I go inside Forensic Science Ireland to see how they're using modern technology and science to help solve murders, identify drugs and even close cold cases. Is it like CSI Dublin?
Tide is rising and we have a sinking crime scene.
And what does Ireland's DNA database look like?
Tech Talk with Jess Kelly.
Download the podcast now or tune in Sunday at 6.
On News Talk.
Join the club.
Have a great afternoon with Harvey Norman, the #1 in Ireland for beds, mattresses and bedroom furniture.
Go, Harvey, go! Start your story at Woodies. Hop to it with great Easter deals, like 3 for 2 on all Dulux interior paint. Karcher K4 pressure washer, €249, save €100. And 42cm Prolon petrol mower, just €199. Woodies, we're all homemakers. T's and C's and exclusions apply.
It's always nice when your children have friends over, but they're not the only ones bringing visitors into your home. Unknowingly, your dog or cat can pick up ticks and fleas when outside and carry them back into your home, and these unwelcome visitors can harm your pet. Ticks especially put animals at serious risk, so ask your vet about longer-lasting protection against ticks and fleas, because not all visitors are welcome. A message from MSD Animal Health. See bravopets.ie.
Love is beautifully crafted new windows and doors. This month, ours come with 35% off. Plus, for a limited time, 5% cash back on all orders of 5,000 or more. Visit mcmnwindows.ie or call 01 846 0364 for a design consultation. McMahon & Nagle. Fall in love with your home again.
Hi there. Fancy walking yourself to wellness under blue Spanish skies? It's Carl Henry here, and if you're looking for fitness inspiration, why not walk the Camino for the Irish Hospice Foundation this September? Feel great, have fun, and make every step count for end-of-life and bereavement care in Ireland. Register now at hospicefoundation.ie.
Epic entertainment awaits. Sign up for Air Broadband today and get totally unlimited super-fast fibre broadband for just $34.99 a month. Plus the Air Sport Pack free, and all on a simple 12-month contract. For more, call 1-800-500-300, go in store or visit air.ie. Air. Let's make possible. New customers only, $59.99 a month thereafter, subject to availability. Air Sport Pack channels subject to change. Bundle activation fee may apply. Offer ends 30th of April. User experience may vary. For full details and terms, see air.ie.
Woohoo! Brain cells!
Why is Hunch pretending to ride a horse?
It's the Grand National Festival.
I know, but he's not usually this happy.
He's just seen Betway's latest odds on the Grand National Festival.
Ah, no wonder. Hunch loves getting something back. Woohoo! He's not going to try and jump that, is he?
No.
Yeehaw! Oh.
Yes.
Heed your hunch with Betway at the Grand National Festival.
Bet responsibly. 18 plus. For support and information, see dunlewy.net.
I'm Pádraig Corkin, garden expert on the Pat Kenny Show. Moss is a serious problem in your lawn this spring. Control lawn moss now with Zero. Zero controls lawn moss overnight. Zero is easy to apply and very fast acting. Zero Moss Control is now available online or in your local garden centre.
Today is the perfect time for making a change and looking after yourself by switching your health insurance to Leia Healthcare. With great benefits like a session with a qualified health coach and video calls with Irish registered GPs from wherever you happen to be. So talk to one of our experts about switching today for peace of mind from just over €10 a month on 1890 700 890, because it's good to live. Leia Healthcare, looking after you always.
Insurance provided by Ellipse Insurance Limited, trading as Leia Healthcare. Leia Healthcare Limited, trading as Leia Healthcare and Leia Life, is regulated by the Central Bank of Ireland. Price and benefits for one adult over the age of 18 on Assure Protect.
He's the best-selling author whose latest novel has been greeted with a storm of protest. In this week's Sunday Independent, John Boyne talks love, fury and free speech. Alice Mary Higgins tells Niamh Horan about running for election and being the President's daughter. Plus Ireland's 20 best Sunday lunches. The Sunday Independent, the complete read.
This is a radio ad in my best sultry voice, talking about the M&S San Francisco style sourdough bread. Chewy texture, crusty crust, and only €3 a loaf. This is not just food, this is M&S food. Selected stores, T's and C's apply.
The fences, the finishes, the electricity in the air, the unbeatable feeling of finding a winner. It's not for the faint-hearted. The Boyle Sports Irish Grand National is where legends are made, heroes are born. It's about being there to see it happen, watching history being made before your very eyes. The Easter Festival at Fairyhouse, April 21st to 23rd. Be there and play your part in Ireland's greatest race. See fairyhouse.ie for tickets and information.
Take steps to improve the energy efficiency of your home. Retrofit Low E+2 heat-retaining glass from Energlaze into your existing frames. For greater comfort and lower heating bills, every upgrade you make makes a difference. See energlaze.ie.
Saracens versus Munster, live from the Ricoh Arena.
On Off the Ball.
Saracens held short, but for how long? Back they come with Richard Barrington. They're a metre short of that Munster trial, and in goes Spencer. Rhodes on his shoulder. Vinipola, can he get it down? Try! And that surely is that.
And that was that. Saracens through to the final of the Heineken Champions Cup. Munster beaten at the semi-final stage for the third year in a row. 32-16 the final score at the Ricoh Arena in Coventry. Second half tries from Michael Rhodes and Billy Vinipola winning the game for the English side. As I say, 32-16. We'll be back to the Ricoh in just a moment for analysis on that defeat with Johnny Murphy and Matthew Tait. But we want to run you around the grounds very quickly in the Premier League. Let's first go to the big game of the afternoon, because Brighton, in all sorts of trouble, a desperate run of form, went to Wolves and got themselves a crucial point. Alan Tully was watching it. Alan, were Brighton worth their point?
I think so. And I think if you'd have offered Chris Hughton a point before the game, Nathan, I think he'd have snatched your hands off. Look, it is only a point, isn't it? But it could be a huge one. I think more importantly, it stops that run of 4 straight defeats. They've turned it round slightly. I mean, you can understand they got as many men behind the ball at every opportunity. So the game was largely one-way traffic. But you have to say, Wolves huffed and puffed. They never really played at their usual pace. They never really found their usual form. And of course, Brighton just grew in confidence as the game went on.
It moves them 3 points clear. You mentioned before the game that they've a horrible run over their last 4 games, Brighton. Signs then that maybe, because I guess keeping clean sheets is probably going to be the key thing between now and the end of the season. Like if they can drag a point out of a game here and there, it'll probably be enough.
Well, you never know, do you? I mean, they've got those 3 really big games where, you know, on paper, if you and I were sitting in a pub now, we'd say, well, they're not going to get any points for any of that. They've got Newcastle at home. So, you know, if they can get a point from that, it might just be enough, because their goal difference is so superior to Cardiff's. I think this could be a huge point in the long run, Nathan. It really could.
All right, we shall see. Thanks a lot for that, Alan.
Cheers, mate.
Scoreless draw there between Wolves and Brighton. Peter Hood was watching Bournemouth against Fulham. Fulham win the game by 1-0. Eddie Howard says getting very frustrated at the end of the season, Peter, with the inconsistency in Bournemouth's performances.
Yeah, it was on display again today, Nathan, I have to say. They squandered chances. They dominated early on in the game, wasted their chances. Josh King should have scored early on, blazed over the bar from 6 yards. Ryan Fraser, busy as ever, had a couple of one-on-one chances denied by the Fulham keeper, who had a good game, Sergio Ricoh, today. And in the end, Fulham got better as the game went on, created their own chances, and when Mitrovic was fouled, he stepped up and put the penalty away to eventually win the game. And despite the kitchen sink coming at the Fulham defence, they held on.
Did you get the sense that Bournemouth were on their summer holidays already?
Well, to be fair, they were interrupted right from the start. Adam Smith was meant to start, got injured in the warm-up. They had another injury when Junior Stanislas was forced off very early indeed, and another defender came on, so it was all the plans kind of went out the window, in all honesty, and it was a disjointed performance, I have to say, and I'm sure Eddie Howe will say that in the post-match press conference, but they did create enough chances to have got a point out of the game. There's no doubt about that, but in the end, Fulham, good value, 1-0 to the Championship, they sang at the end. And to be fair, they'll do okay in the Championship because Scott Parker can keep these players going in the direction they've gone. Much better from Fulham, much more freedom, and back-to-back wins could get him the job.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Peter.
Pleasure.
Let's go to the London Stadium, see what happened between West Ham and Leicester. Guy Swindles.
West Ham 2, Leicester 2. In the end, thoroughly entertaining match, if some of the football was a little careless at times. Antonio's thumping header gave the Hammers the lead at half-time, 1-0, but back came Leicester. Jamie Vardy, delightful near-post touch, 1-1. Substitutes were made. It would hit the post through Pedro Obiang, and there was Lucas Perez to touch home. Perez then had an effort disallowed for offside before in time added on. Harvey Barnes came through the West Ham defence and made it. West Ham 2, Leicester 2.
All right, so plenty of goals in that game. And finally, we're going to talk Huddersfield, Watford. Shane Pennington is on the line. Finally, we're seeing the Gerard Deulofeu, it seems, that we expected when he arrived from Barcelona all those years ago.
Yeah, absolutely. I saw a lot of Deulofeu for Everton, and he was very much a confidence player, and that confidence is obviously sky high at the moment. He scored a terrific goal against Watford the other week, didn't he? Wolves in the FA Cup semi-final, and he seems to have really kicked on from there because his goals today make it 6 goals in his last 5 away appearances for Watford. So he's really got that bit between his teeth at the moment, and that can only be a good thing as Watford look to finish in the top 7 and also, of course, look to cause an upset against Manchester City in the FA Cup final.
Yeah, it's turned out to be a fine season for Watford, and maybe they can cap it by pulling off an almighty shock against Manchester City in that cup final. Their style of play, though, like they get it down, they pass it around, they've got a bit of physicality in there as well. Is it simply a case Huddersfield at this stage, have they checked out and they couldn't cope with that?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, Watford looked in total control from start to finish in this game. Huddersfield give it a good go in the second half, but their main problem has been goals, of course, and they did score late on in the game, and that made it 20 goals for the season, and that actually puts them level with Derby County, who currently hold the record for the fewest Premier League goals scored in a season, and that was way back in 2007-2008. So one more goal for them, and at least they avoid that record.
Something to play for, I guess. Shane, great stuff.
Cheers.
All right, so Watford beat Huddersfield 2-1 in that game. Now, let's go back to the Ricoh Arena then, because our main focus for the afternoon was on the Heineken Champions Cup semi-final, and yet again, Munster beaten in the last 4, 32-16. There was only 3 points between the sides at the break, with Saracens leading 12-9, but second half tries from Michael Rhodes and Billy Vunipola won the game quite comfortably for Saracens in the end. Matthew Tait and Johnny Murphy were alongside Conor Morris on co-commentary. Johnny, like, the frustration for Munster over the last couple of years was that they never landed a blow in these games. Did they today?
It's tough to say. I suppose they probably did in after when Sweetenham scored, but then it just got all very Saracens. Like, there was an opportunity there to, I think they were 9 points down at that stage.
Yeah.
And there was an opportunity, and a bad exit. You know, Tait already he spoke about it during it. It was like, okay, well, they had an opportunity to move the ball. They got caught in that grey zone where they didn't do either. They didn't run it correctly, they didn't kick it, and then it just led to 5 or 6 Sarries boys piling in, and that was the turning point there. But it just looked very comfortable from a Saracens perspective from then on. That was probably. That was it, really. They held out very well, but it was just that moment summed the game up, because Munster were chasing and Sarries just soaked up the pressure very, very easily.
Matthew, you've seen a lot up close of Saracens over the last few years. This is just a continuation, it seems, the typical performance from a very well-oiled machine.
Yeah, it is. It's an immensely well-oiled machine, and that's the most impressive thing with them, really. Regardless of who's playing, everyone knows their role both in attack and defence. And watching it from up here and watching it on TV, it looks simple, but it's the attention to the kind of minute detail which makes it work. So whether that's defensively, it's that spacing around the ruck, which allows that line speed. Whether it's those individuals like Maro Itoje's flying off the line to put pressure on the ball player. He knows by doing that, his teammates either side of him are going with him. It's the trust that they have, and at times today they just looked very, very comfortable. And that's not to say that Munster didn't throw any punches. They didn't really land or have the effect that they were perhaps hoping.
Yeah, that was what I wanted to get to, Johnny, I guess. Like, do Munster look back on this game with regrets that they could have done something different, that they could have found a different way of disrupting Saracens, that there were weaknesses there as the game emerged that they didn't take advantage of? Or was it unfortunately for trying to build 20 minutes of analysis out of this that the better team won?
I think two things they can probably feel that could have gone their way. One or two decisions at pivotal times went against them, and that happens when people have the intent and the ferocity that Saracens have, both in attack and defence. And then that moment where they're chasing, that's the moment where, and we spoke about it at half time, that they're going to have to throw caution to the wind at some time, but when they do it, they have to be deadly accurate, and they weren't. And that's the difference. You felt when Saracens needed to come out, and when they made a statement, was the first 5 to 6 minutes of the second half. Right, if we go after them again like we did in the first half, they will crack. And that's what, that 5 to 6 minutes. So, and in these tight games, those moments, European Cup semi-finals and finals, they hang on those moments. And that run kick option that Munster took, they didn't do either, and they fell between two stools, and that lost them the game.
I think the lack of, you're talking about X-factor players, you're missing your Keith Earls, you're missing your Joey Carberry. Playing against teams like Sarries, who are going to be well drilled, you need those guys who've just got that little bit of something to create something out of nothing, a little bit like Earls did in Edinburgh in the quarter-final. So for me, they missed those two guys immeasurably today. And the other thing was the box kicking game. Saracens won that battle in isolation, which had a huge impact in terms of territory across the game. Just talking about Strettle getting up to tap the ball back, and Saracens players been around the ball to scoop up those scraps. It had a huge bearing on getting field position, whereas Munster seemed to be not necessarily knowing what they were doing, whether it was their intention to not kick the ball off from box kicks. I mean, Johne spoke about this, whether they'd looked at Saracens set piece and their line out as a major threat and thought, actually, we need to keep the ball on the pitch and back ourselves defensively. But again, they seemed to be caught between two minds, whether they were kicking contestable or kicking long, and ultimately that in terms of possession and territory, that hurt them in my view.
And we spend a lot of time, Matthew, talking about Conor Murray's box kicks in terms of the international team and with Munster. Watching him today, did you feel it was too predictable what Murray and Munster were trying to do with the box kicks?
It just felt like they weren't. Talk about kicking on your own terms, and it felt like Saracens were kicking almost with an attacking mindset around it, whereas Munster were almost doing that as a kind of last resort. Actually, we've run out of options, we'll just kick it. I think Conor was under a lot of pressure from his exits, from the work that Maro Itoje and George Cruz were doing around the breakdown. And I'd like to have seen perhaps Tyler Bledendahl step up, or JJ Hanrahan step up, catching the ball from those restarts and actually just kicking it straight back. It removes that pressure and that need to be in your own 22 for longer periods than you actually need to be.
JJ Hanrahan, since his return to Munster, Johnny, feels as though he's been sort of the forgotten man. He came on and it felt as though he made an instant impact, that there was suddenly a bit more speed, a bit more urgency.
Yeah, he did. His first involvement was a drop off that Chris Farrell caught, and they had an opportunity to attack from, and that's where that sustained period of pressure came from a Munster perspective, was from that moment. He did. It's just his form hasn't been where it probably needs to be for a consistent enough time. You know, he's been very high. Last week he was very high, but then 2 weeks previous against Zebre, he didn't control the game, and Tyler came on and they ended up getting their five tries towards the end based on Tyler's input. So it's just that consistency across the board for a block of games. There was opportunity with Joey gone through Ireland or injury, that it's a consistency along those block of games. And unfortunately, JJ's been, he's had some fantastic moments at very high level of club matches. So he's getting his opportunity now in a 4-game block where you're playing at probably at an empty Thomond Park, against Zebre, which can be tough to get up for when you've probably reached the heights that JJ has.
That must be frustrating for Johan van Graan, particularly with what he's been trying to do with Joey Carberry and how integral Carberry's been to a shift in style of play, that you would feel maybe Hanrahan, if he was at that level consistently, could slot in quite easily as a direct replacement, and you could play very similar with Hanrahan instead of Carberry, whereas maybe things are slightly different with Blayendal.
Yeah, they are, and I suppose you play more of a, with Tyler, he doesn't have that running threat that either Joey or JJ have, but he organises very well. He's very calm, and he creates holes for people where the guys are probably that bit more in the middle. They're more of a running threat, and where Tyler is very much bringing people into the game and controls and organises multi-phase repeatedly. So it is, I suppose, a frustration, but hopefully this is the platform now for JJ to really kick on, because he did make a big difference when he came on, and they look probably a sharper outfit going forward. It was just probably they had left themselves too much to do, especially just after that run kick scrum where they didn't do either.
7th straight semi-final defeat over 11 years now for Munster. A lot of these players are getting into their 30s now. It felt as though we've been through a transitional period with Munster, and they're through that. But Conor Murray, I think, celebrates his 30th birthday this afternoon. Peter O'Mahony's into his 30s now. Do you worry for Munster over the next couple of years that for all the good work, actually their key players are starting to get on a little bit?
Yeah, and I think it's in the next kind of 2 or 3 years where they really have to get an opportunity, and everything kind of has to go right for them. Like Joey Carberry needs to be on the pitch, Keith Ayres needs to be on the pitch, and that's just because they have a top 22 to 23 guys when everyone's fit that can really push the Saracens and Leinster, but they need everyone on their feet. They just don't have the squad depth that the likes of, and not very many people do. You're talking maybe Saracens, Leinster, Toulouse, Racing. They're probably the top 4. Munster have probably got to, not overachieve, but achieve to their level with everyone that they have. And then they come to what is all, today was their day. If everyone was fit, today was possibly their day, because they had that win away from home last week, Teresa, where the second team, the younger guys, really stood up and gritted a really good victory out. They've gone really well. They've good form in the Pro 14, but it's just they're unlucky. They are unlucky in what that not having those two guys who are two of their main attacking threats and senior players within the group.
And I think that's the beauty of the Irish system, is that you have someone like a Joey Carberry. He's not sat on the bench at Leinster. He is, when fit, starting week in, week out for Munster in big games. But also, if you look at the two squads, does it hamper the Irish provinces, and actually would they benefit from bringing in maybe 3 or 4 guys from overseas. Everything around the provincial system is geared around that international team. Would they benefit from having, say, being able to bring a Will Skelton, a Vincent Koch and a Schaltberger off the bench or in that starting team?
And I think, we spoke off air, Tait, someone like Michael Rhodes, who, these guys that, and Schaltberger, those guys that they front up your whole squad. You pick someone like Michael Rhodes out, well, where's he come? But he does, he's a fabulous line-out option, and you discussed his qualities off air. So that is just purely being selfish from a provincial perspective. It certainly does hamper them when they get to these late rounds. Well, the other 3, maybe not Leinster because of the conveyor belt they have, but the other 3 provinces, it certainly does kind of curtail them at this elite level of European rugby.
An incredible level of consistency for Saracens then. 4th final in 6 years. They've won 2 of the last 3. In comparison to where they were when they were winning the Champions Cup, Matthew, where are they? Are they at that level again?
I don't think they're far off, to be honest. I know they're not. I think they're sitting second currently in the Premiership, and that's kind of, I don't think, is a slight on them. Exeter are going full guns at the moment and going very well. The nature of the Premiership is you just need to finish in the top 4. They're pretty much guaranteed that home semi-final, so that's all they need to concern themselves in terms of the Premiership side of things. The beauty from Sarri's perspective, there's very few of their frontline players are injured now. Obviously Mako came back in today. Brad Barrett went off. It'd be interesting to see how serious that is, but they're coming towards the business end of the season in both tournaments, and they're very, very few injuries. And we spoke about it during the game that regardless if he plays for Saracens, whether it's the frontline guys, the normal match day 23, or the players that sit in behind them, everyone is so well drilled around the Saracens way and the Saracens process that it doesn't make a huge amount of difference. The difference is potentially around the quality of those individuals, but you're taking off today. You're taking off a Titi Lamasili. You're bringing on Vincent Koch, a South African international. You lose a Sean Maitland before the game. You bring in a David Strell, who was fantastic under the high ball today. He was a menace all day in terms of the box kick pressure. So their strength of squad is pretty unique in Europe and in the Premiership as well, to be perfectly honest. And I see it being a Saracens Exeter final from a Premiership perspective, and it'd be interesting to see from a European perspective who kind of comes through the Leinster Toulouse game. I think in order to have the most competitive final for me, I think that Leinster are the only team in terms of their strength and depth of the squad that they have that could compete with Saracens.
Yeah. Billy Vunipola ended up scoring the, match-winning try, we might call it that, the last try for Saracens. He ended up being man of the match as well. He was able to play because Saracens gave him a warning. The English Rugby Union gave him a formal warning for his homophobic comment on Instagram during the week. What sort of reception did he get?
He sort of played the pantomime villain today. He was getting booed by the majority of supporters here. I think he's aware with his comments that they are not the most well informed to be putting out on social media, and I think he was well aware that he was going to get some stick for that.
He said in his post-match interview, from my point of view, I believe in what I believe in. It was never my intention to hurt anybody. A lot of talk, I think, during the commentary that maybe it was a tough week for him, and that's annoying people who are watching the game on television. Mark McCall said it was the sort of thing that brought the group together. Like, is it as simple as that they win this game? Like, as rugby players, as a team, do you just move on now, or is that something that lingers within the squad?
I guess from the Saracens' point of view, they will come tight around him, as is the Saracens' way to protect their own. I think my view on it is he was pretty naive in putting out what he put out. I fundamentally disagree with what he's saying. He's entitled to have his views, but he as a public figure and someone of note, and probably idols of people who are potentially struggling with their sexuality, he has an obligation as someone in the public eye to be careful about what he says and fully understand the impact of putting those kinds of views out in public.
Johnny, Mark McCall, it feels hasn't come out of this looking particularly good. in that today, again, his post-match comments were, you see today, it galvanised us, we're as tight as we've ever been. When the comments came out initially, it seemed as though he didn't really want to talk about it, that nobody wants to hear what I have to say about this. Like, not really the sort of leadership you would want from the head coach of one of the biggest teams in world rugby.
Yeah, well, I think there's a responsibility, and I suppose, there's a responsibility from, as Tait has already said, from people in high public profile to act responsibly, and also understand what their comments, what effect their comments can have. And for me, I think that was lost this week. And Mark McCall is probably just trying to deflect and be, look, we've dealt with it in-house, we've dealt with it in our way. And
that's not really enough, though, is it, when you're the head coach?
It depends on what way it was dealt with in-house for me. That's just my personal opinion. But look, I think his comments are probably irresponsible from as a parent, and a parent of two boys and a girl. I think people look up to guys like him, and those comments, they're not responsible. And I think that, and more importantly, and there's been a whole respect issue thrown over rugby over the last 2-3 years of what's gone on elsewhere, and I don't think they're respectful. And our game is built on respect, and when someone steps out of line, I think it's very important that the majority of the rugby playing population row in behind what is respectful. And I think the Australian Union have done that, and I'm not sure Saracens have. Do Saracens, I would wonder whether Saracens care. I probably can say that as given what they did today.
I think we're looking at, we look at the situation Folau found himself in last year. So for me, there's freedom of speech does not come without freedom of consequences. And actually, you look at the Folau situation and how that's been handled now. Aside from what he said, he has breached a contract he willingly entered into. So from that perspective, he deserves to be fired. In my view, for what he said, he deserves to be fired. We're talking about Nick Heath, English journalist, spoke very well about this during the week. Of all the people that on the tweet and the social media that he put out that are intended for hell, homosexuals don't decide to be homosexuals. People are born that way. So why should people be spoken to, referred to like that? Something that is out of their control. If you replace the term homosexual with a race or an ethnicity, we're not having the discussion. It constitutes hate crime for all intents and purposes. So it's a very thorny, difficult subject. But that would be my views on that.
Yeah, and I'd say we haven't heard the last of it. Just looking at some photographs, actually a Munster supporter, it seems, confronted Billy Vunipola.
We were actually talking, and I didn't see it, but and neither did Tait. It was at the end of the game. We were actually chatting, and then there was a bit of kind of commotion over the far side. I didn't actually see it. I saw the supporter. There's a thing on. I saw the supporter being kind of shepherded off, but it wasn't in a physical manner or anything. I don't know. Tait's trying to find out here from
trying to look
from
at
Paul
this, just the screen in front of us. There's a supporter ran on the pitch. Just to swear at Billy.
Oh, just to swear. Okay.
He rather wisely didn't square up to Billy Vunipola. I think it was a bit of pointing and a bit of shouting, and you say he was escorted off. Just before we let you go, then, Saracens through to the final. It feels as though for sort of franchise and who was the best of the last decade in European rugby, you want the Saracens Leinster final.
Yeah, completely. I think we were talking about it there. For me, they're the two best teams, and they can really compete with each other from 1 to 32, not 1 to 33, not just 1 to 23, and that's that is the best final for the neutral. and probably given how this week has gone, the winner that everyone wants from a neutral perspective is probably to lose. I would say the third one based on how they play and what they bring. But for me, Leinster, I think that would be a titanic battle, and it's certainly the final we all want.
It feels as though we're not quite sure where Leinster actually are right now, because they've been decimated by injuries all season. They've really struggled to get their best team on the pitch. It almost cost them against Ulster. They just about got over the line. They do have Devin Toner, Johnny Sexton, Robbie Henshaw all back in the side tomorrow. Would you have concerns, though, the fact that they've played such a small amount of rugby, those three players, over the last few months, that for a Champions Cup semi-final, to get to the level you need to against Toulouse, that it might come a little bit too soon for them?
I don't think so. Those guys are all very experienced players. I think who they will miss is the likes of a Dan Levy. He's a huge loss for Leinster. Talking about a fully loaded Saracens and a fully loaded Leinster side, it's a shame that someone of his quality and stature would miss that. But in terms of those three guys, I don't think so. They know talking about a Sarries way, but they know the Leinster system. They know what's expected of them, and I think they'll fit back into that seamlessly.
Yeah, Johnny, what are you expecting then? I know you're saying maybe the neutrals will look at Toulouse style of play and free flowing, and what was it, 47-44 they won last week in the top 14. Like that style of play against the tried and tested Leinster side who know how to win these games. Like are they that brave, are they that brazen that they go to the Aviva tomorrow and just throw the ball around like they would back in France?
I think they have to. It's probably the only way that they are going to beat a quality side. Stuart Lancaster talks about being comfortable in chaos. It's kind of a phrase that is used all the time throughout the media and throughout throughout our Irish rugby circles. Tomorrow is going to really, really put that to the test. If Toulouse come and they play and they put their best foot forward, it is going to be mayhem, and it's going to be a very different game to today, because probably the only team that can really combat them in terms of how they play is very much Leinster, and it's two semi-finals were very different, two pressurised teams today that going against each other about building pressure and trying to win that arm wrestle, where tomorrow is about, probably from a purist perspective, is about rugby and how it's played, and fantastic to watch. Leinster have that ability to play incredible rugby. Toulouse probably are better than anyone at it in terms of their off the cuff and their offloading capabilities, as we've seen in the quarter final. So tomorrow is going to be a very different semi-final for me, but probably a better rugby game, and not built on pressure and where the game is played. It's just going to be all out attack, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. All
right, lads, thanks a lot for your time today. Matthew, thanks for joining us on Off the Ball. Johnny, we'll talk to you again soon.
Cheers, thanks guys.
Johnny Murphy and Matthew Tait there, watching a 32-16 win for Saracens against Munster in the Champions Cup final. We may have some post-match audio from that before the end of the show. Let's quickly go to St James's Park, just getting underway, I'd imagine, between Newcastle and Southampton, the final game of the day in the Premier League. Roger Thames is watching. Evening, Roger.
Evening. I've just been enjoying your rugby conversation, because of course the European final is here at St James's Park in a few weeks' time, and I've got my 2 tickets, so I was trying to get a bit of a preview, but
good man. I made the error.
have to suffer Saracens.